Chapter 101. This zombie looked quite old. About 40 years old. His gray skin was full of wrinkles. And he looked weathered. He must be a hard-working farmer. He had just woken up from the chaos when Wang Chang held his hand and called him big brother, uncle and so on. He shook his head, and his human memories flooded in an instant, and then quickly faded like a tide, leaving only the hungry zombie uncle. What happened to me? Wang Chang described it vividly according to what the third elder taught him. They all smelled like intelligent zombies, and they also knew how to awaken the wisdom of ordinary zombies. Although they looked slightly different from ordinary intelligent zombies, the zombie uncle just thought they were too advanced, and never thought that they were human. Now the most important thing for us is not the struggle with humans, Wang Chang said passionately. I came to inquire about the situation in D City on the order of the zombie boss of B City. We flower zombies must work together. Hearing this, Uncle Corpse's face was also a little indignant. He scratched his head. He had not yet mastered human language, so he could only communicate with Wang Chang and vaguely in zombie language. 3 days ago, after the D City security base resumed communication with B City, it received a lot of research materials donated by B City. However, the academic atmosphere in D City is not strong, and there are relatively few local scientific research institutes. Even if there is information, the vaccines and serums that can be produced are not many. They spent more energy on making odor eliminators, thinking that before the arrival of the plum rain, they should go out to store more food and rescue more survivors. It must be said that the plan made by City D was not problematic. City D has a small population and simple folk customs. Although there is no military district in City D, the police and civilian volunteers are united. And with the odor eliminator, they are even more powerful. While cleaning up the supplies in the entire city, they also saved many survivors. Until a team of survivors ran from the sea, shouting and screaming, followed by countless zombies. The rescuers in City D thought that the other party was their compatriots, so they decisively went up to them, sacrificing 5 or 6 policemen, and then snatched the survivors from the zombies. But when they returned to the safe base, City D discovered the problem. This is not our compatriots? Although the other party was fluent in Mandarin, the careful inspector still found some differences in their speech, behavior and details. This is clearly the Q people from the other side of the sea. They are flexible. The Q survivors knelt down one by one without saying a word, tightly pressed against the ground. We are not completely Q people. Our ancestors also have flower-growing blood. We really had no choice but to risk crossing the sea to join the flower-growing. Please, don't drive us out. We are willing to do anything. The group of people, young and old, women and children, cried so hard that the person in charge of D City softened his heart. He thought about it and arranged this group of people outside the base, and did not let them go deep into the center of the base. Out of caution, the person in charge of D City also arranged several policemen to patrol near the survivors of Q Country. But how could the kind and simple people of D City think that someone would join forces with zombies? This group of Q people would like to live outside the base. The closer to the gate, the better. Hearing this, Chu Liang's heart sank. Could it be that this group of people secretly brought the zombie virus in to spread it? However, if that group of people spread the zombie virus, everyone in the base became zombies. Then what would the Q Country zombies eat? But if the gate was opened by an insider, the defense of the D City security base would not be so loose. Right? Wang Chang added that the zombies chasing the survivors of Q Country were from Q Country. Otherwise, how could the old, weak, women and children escape? The reason why this uncle knew so much was because he was a local zombie who was blocked outside by the zombies of Q Country, wandering around the base. So he knew some things. I'll continue. Long story short, Wang Chang took a deep breath and looked at everyone, then turned back and bared his teeth at the uncle. The uncle said in confusion, "Why don't we communicate directly in zombie language?" Wang Chang responded with a deep face, "You don't understand. This is the trend of our intelligent zombies. You should also learn foreign language as well. We are now popular to speak Mandarin to avoid the zombies' dialect affecting everyone's communication." Uncle Corpse was still very convinced by this group of zombies who awakened his wisdom, and he immediately felt respect for them. They are indeed the zombies of B City. They are so fashionable. Time goes back to 3 days ago. Late at night, a pair of innocent and cute brother and sister quietly walked out of the tent and slowly walked towards the gate of the base. The patrolling police immediately found them. raised the electric baton, squatted down, and threatened, "Why don't you sleep at night?" The brother and sister looked at each other, opened their mouths, and cried, "Wow! We are scared. Afraid not to go to find mother. Why come out to stroll in the middle of the night? Isn't it easier to be eaten by zombies?" The police looked puzzled. But considering the different national conditions, maybe what people in Q country are afraid of is just walking late at night. He patiently pushed the two children with his hands. "Go back. I'll take you back. Don't run around. Be careful of being eaten by zombies." "Eat, his." His hand hurt for a moment, and he suddenly retracted it, but saw the brother and sister slowly retreating, looking terrified. "Is there someone behind him?" The police turned his head suddenly, but saw nothing. Only a little red condensed at the tip of his finger. The brother and sister had already run back by themselves. The police chased a few steps, but suddenly felt dizzy. Maybe he was tired from too much duty recently. The police shook his dizzy brain and staggered a few steps. The brother and sister in front stopped in front of the tent. The people in the tent slowly walked out, and no one was asleep. "How long will it take?" the old man asked in Q country. The little boy shrugged and handed over the silver needle in his hand. "According to the previous experiments on human bodies in our own country, at most 10 minutes. 10 minutes later, a miserable cry crossed the night sky. "Ah! Someone has become a zombie!" After shouting, he led the zombie to run towards the city wall, and hid in the shadow of the city wall. "There are zombies in the base!" This bad news woke up countless people, shivering in the house, not knowing whether to go out to help or stay in the house and wait for rescue. The police turned into zombies and attacked several colleagues who were patrolling together. The scene became more and more chaotic. Several guards near the city wall turned around and aimed their guns at the zombies that suddenly appeared in the base. At this moment, a group of zombies rushed out from under the city wall. They seemed to have a command and climbed up the weak defense of the city wall in an orderly manner. Zombies kept coming from afar, and it looked like all the zombies in the city were gathering here. In the chaos inside and outside, the D-City base, which had never experienced a zombie siege, was a little at a loss. What was even more terrible was that the survivors of Q country finally opened the gate on one side of the base. The zombies at the front swarmed in, and the people in the city showed a look of despair. The defensive police on the tower were knocked down by the zombies that climbed up one by one, and the defense line was completely defeated. Unexpectedly, the zombies suddenly stopped. The leading zombie was not tall, and his clean clothes were dirty a lot in the previous charge. He frowned and patted the mucus on his body, and said something from Q country, "Don't eat it. It's all ours." So the uncle who was mixed in with the Q country zombies and attacked the base, and was about to eat some meat, was picked up and thrown out without mercy. Uncle Corpse knows so much. Wang chained and spread his hands. The above content is imitating Lao San and adding some of his own literary creation, but it is reasonable. Chu Liang pursed his lips. "This is called a long story short? Isn't it just that Uncle Corpse saw Q country people sneaking into the base, and the Q country zombies worked together to create chaos and occupied the base, and let all the local zombies in D-City out? Did he see our previous team?" Lin Qingyu asked anxiously. "Why did the team sent out in the past few days go and never return?" Wang chained and shook his head. Uncle Corpse didn't know. He hadn't found any outsiders recently. "Can Uncle Corpse take us into the D-City base?" Ming Ning asked. "Since we know the problem is inside the D-City base, why not go in and take a look?" They sent out the signal again and contacted Li Yi. Li Yi asked doubtfully, "City B only asked us to investigate the cause. Now the cause is very clear. We just need to withdraw to City C and wait for City B to send a large force to encircle and suppress them. Why take the risk of entering City D?" The third brother was indignant. "I support going in and taking a look. I wish I could kill them." "Bah! What the hell?" The fourth brother, "Is junior sister Ming here?" "Junior sister, are you okay?" "You?" The fourth brother was deprived of the right to talk. Li Yi pondered for a moment, and still gave the decision to Chu Liang. "I trust you. You make the decision. It doesn't matter whether I live or die. I'll follow you. If it works, I'll go in and see if I can find some materials to publish SCI. If it doesn't work, I'll become the material for SCI. No loss." Chu Liang first asked the third brother to release the pigeon to make sure that City B could receive the news from his side, and ordered the whole country to be alert to this kind of survivors. Then, he hesitated for a moment, but still said his suggestion. I think we should have one team go in and take a look, and the other team will support outside. The team in front of us was very strange. Maybe Q country is something we don't know. If we don't find out this problem, the large army will suffer. Isn't this the meaning of our coming? The loss of the security base in City D was a result that everyone could guess. 3 or 4 minutes later, Lin Qingyu's hand came up. I applied to go in. Ming Ning was impatient. Add me. I'm the only translator. Wang Chang'an put his hand on Chu Liang's shoulder. Damn! After a long time of psychological preparation, it turns out that I was the one who was responding from outside. Li Yi was furious and put forward his own request. I applied to go to the coast to see the route they came from, so as to avoid the subsequent Q country landing that we don't know about. Of course, Chu Liang made the decision. Uncle Corpse is also a farmer born and raised in D City. He thought hard for a while, and really remembered a way to go up the mountain when he was a human. He smiled honestly. I know one. I used to take people to avoid hiking tickets. Good guy. You, an uncle with thick eyebrows and big eyes in your life, are actually poaching from the government. Chapter 102. The Q country zombies and Q country people were able to capture the base within one night and firmly control the situation, so that the elite team that came to explore in the next 2 days could not return. They must have their own methods. Although Chu Liang didn't know, he felt vaguely that it might be related to their zombie animals. Whether it was a mammal or not, it should be paid attention to. With the development of the zombie virus mutation, who can say that it will not start to infect other creatures? After telling Li Yi's team to pay attention to safety, Chu Liang and his team planned to take advantage of the rain to stop again at this time at night and go to the interior of the D City base to find out. The rain on the plum rain day is unpredictable, and the night sky sprinkles a few drops of rain from time to time. Fortunately, several people have raincoats, and with 2 layers of raincoats, the odor simulant can still play most of its role. However, Uncle Corpse was also very surprised that the 4 zombies wore raincoats. All the zombies in our city are like this. Very particular. Wang Chang'an lied with his eyes open, and always used this excuse to fool people. The development of D City is far less than that of the capital B City. Although human memory is blurred, Uncle Corpse still has a little envy for the zombies in B City. He immediately decided that after he practiced his hand muscles and became more flexible, he would also get a set of raincoats to wear. The path up the mountain is a very inconspicuous path hidden in a deep orchard. It was June, and the orchard was lush with trees. There had been no fruit farmers to take care of it in the past 6 months, so the trees grew wildly, and even the path was covered with weeds. In addition, the heavy rain during the plum rains made the ground muddy and muddy. If it weren't for Uncle Sher leading the way, they would hardly have seen such a road on the ground. Here, Uncle Sher led everyone out, pointed to the iron fence in front of them, and began to untie the wire on the fence clumsily. Chu Liang couldn't bear to see it, so he went up to help untie it together, facing Uncle Sher's loud voice. He guessed that it was mostly a thank you, so he nodded coldly and forced a smile. In fact, Uncle Sher was saying, "Where did you come from? Young man? You scared me." Xiao Hong remains Xiao Hong wherever he goes. This does not need to be translated. Touching his nose, Wang Chang'an chuckled. This fence is tied with several circles of wire. Behind the wire is the wall of Nanshan in D City. The wall is not high. With their current skills, it is easy to climb over it. And there is an inconspicuous hole in the wall, which is covered by trees on both sides. We also had our own land on the mountain before, and the government let us go in through the gate to take care of it ourselves. But no one has the patience to take a long detour. So we took advantage of their inattention and smashed a hole, and covered it with greenery, so that no one could see it. Later, we took people to escape the ticket. Hee hee. Uncle Corpse laughed loudly. Several people went in one after another, and found a pile of trees. No wonder the government hadn't discovered it before. The trees here are lush, and the place is hidden. No one would notice a few people coming out here. The 4 people were just glad to sneak in. But they were nervous again. It started to rain heavily again. The big raindrops fell down, fast and fierce. Lin Qingyu had come to Nanshan to write about life before, and was familiar with this place. He immediately looked around, walked to the front of the team, and gestured, "Follow me." Uncle Corpse was not afraid of the rain, and it didn't matter if he stood in the rain. But they were afraid. They had to find a building to hide from the rain. Fortunately, Lin Qingyu had been to Nanshan to collect folk songs. This place was considered the entrance to Nanshan, and she had a deep impression of it. Not far from the woods, Lin Qingyu indeed found an antique toilet, and took everyone to hide in the administrator's lounge next to it. Sniff. Sniff. Uncle sure sniffed hard, and his face was confused. Huh? Why do I smell a strong human smell after a heavy rain? No matter how tight the double-layer raincoat and rain boots were, Lin Qingyu and Ming Ning still inevitably exuded the smell of humans. Oh, Wang Chang'an said calmly. We have entered the base, and there must be a lot of humans in the base. This means that those bastards from Q country have not eaten all the people. As long as we recover the D-City security base as soon as possible, the humans inside will be ours. Hee. That makes sense. As expected of zombies from B-City. They have powerful brains. Uncle Corpse looked at Wang Chang'an in admiration, and raised his black thumbs up with difficulty. Hee. Chu Liang raised his stick and stabbed the restless zombie bats above to death, interrupting the two zombies' stupid hee with the shrill cries of the zombie bats. Lin Qingyu took out the odor simulant and sprayed it, and then spoke with confidence. Oh my god. There are zombie bats here too. Chu Liang and his friends had not noticed this kind of zombie animal in the city before, but Lin Qingyu and Ming Ning had seen the lethality of zombie bats. In the joint operation between City Z and City N, they encountered zombie bats without any preparation in the first battle to recapture the countryside. These creatures can easily fly to the 7th or 8th floor. They are small in size and fast in speed. They were chased by zombie bats and fled with their heads in their hands, and their helmets were hit with bangs. The zombie bats were also very smart. Seeing that they had equipment, they quickly gathered together to besiege several people. No matter how thick the clothes were, they could not withstand the bites of zombie bats. If it weren't for the vaccine and serum, the army would have suffered a great loss. Therefore, the military later developed a lot of special weapons for zombie bats. Zombie bats? Chu Liang's mind flashed. What other mammals are there in the mountains? Ming Ning scratched his head and looked at Lin Qingyu. Will there be wild boars, monkeys, etc.? It's hard to say. Although Lin Qingyu had never seen monkeys when she came to sketch before, she had really encountered wild boars. Wang Chang'an was helping Chu Liang and the others to draw. These zombie bats were brought by the zombies of Q country, under the command of the zombies of Q country. They are no longer our kind and must be killed. Uncle Corpse was fooled and stunned. It was raining, and he couldn't move. The four of them looked at each other, and quickly confirmed who would take turns to watch the night with tacit understanding. The others quickly laid down anywhere to recover their energy, under the pretext of visiting the terrain. The night watchman went out again, and ate something on Uncle Corpse's back to replenish his energy. After all, eating compressed biscuits in front of zombies was too difficult to explain. The rain continued until noon. Then it stopped. As soon as the rain stopped, the mountain became noisy. The cicadas on the trees were screaming at the top of their lungs, making people feel upset and extremely hot. Ho. Wang Chang'an turned his head and asked Uncle Corpse if he would be attracted by the sound of cicadas. Uncle Corpse carefully recalled his past as an ordinary zombie and shook his head. We were attracted once or twice, and we already knew that it was a small thing that was not tasty, so we would not go again. Wang Chang'an nodded. It seems that even ordinary zombies have some judgment. Thinking back to the time when they were able to walk the zombies again and again with the sound of music. It must be because of the human taste. Otherwise, if the music is played alone for a long time, maybe the zombies will be immune to it like this. Let's go! Lin Qingyu looked at the sun that was actually showing a little bit of its face, and felt a little relieved. I know a wild road. When we were collecting folk songs here, we followed them to climb and play. Entering the wild road, there are trees to block the sun. Otherwise it would be stuffy and hot, like a big steamer. The opportunity cannot be missed. It's rare that the rain has stopped, so of course we have to act. Chi. As he was talking, Chu Liang's ears suddenly moved, and he heard some unusual sounds in the sky. He grabbed the telescope, leaned out of the window, and looked up at the sky. The sound had gone far away, leaving only a small black dot, proving that it was not his hallucination. What is that? Flying so high? Ming Ning also saw it and asked in confusion. Isn't it a zombie bat? Bats may be able to fly that high, but they can't be that big, right? But according to Chu Liang's shallow knowledge, the only flying mammals he knows are bats. Maybe The one in the sky is a bird of prey that has come in randomly. No more thinking. Sorting out the state. Several people are still wearing thick raincoats. Starting from behind the toilet. And began to climb the wild road. This time, they not only have to pay attention to zombies, but also wild animals in the woods. Such as snakes. If they are bitten by a snake, there is no place to inject serum. Thinking of this, Chu Liang distributed gloves to everyone to protect themselves. Even Uncle Sher was given a pair. We must pay attention to our hands, so that we can tear humans apart with strength. Wang Chang'an was still talking nonsense. Uncle Sher didn't think much about it, and climbed the mountain with gloves. He still had some memories of farmers. He had climbed this wild road many times. Farmers often came here to dig wild vegetables and bamboo shoots. He simply walked to the front and led the way for several people. Chu Liang and his team had a hard time climbing to the gathering place of citizens at the base, on the top of the mountain. Liu and his team had already reached the beach after walking and stopping. The sea in City D is not the kind of holiday beach imagined. There are some ports, which look like the place where people usually stop after fishing. Many small fishing boats are swaying alone. Liu and his team walked along the coastline in a low profile, trying to find the ship where the zombies and humans from Country Q landed, and searched for clues. Chi-chi. The strange sound sounded again. Liu looked up and saw a black spot in the sky. They were all people who had suffered from zombie bats. So Liu immediately ordered, "Go indoors." Even if they now have odor simulants. What if it is a skeleton bat? It's not like they haven't encountered skeleton rats before, compared to the skeleton monsters that may be encountered indoors. Skeleton bats are more terrifying. They can fly. The black spot circled a few times and rushed down without giving up. Liu hid by the window and finally saw clearly that it seemed to be an eagle. Very good. The eagle is not a mammal, so it should not be a zombie. Right? But then, there were more black spots in the sky. And after the eagle, a group of zombie bats followed. The eagle seemed to be very wary of the zombie bats. Flapped its wings, called again, and rushed into the sky. The group of zombie bats turned around like headless flies. And seeing nothing, they reluctantly followed the eagle and flew away. Alas, after becoming zombies, even bats do not follow the rules of dusk activities. The sun is in the sky, but they are flying around here. The fourth and third looked at each other and complained to each other, watching the group of wings fly away. Li rubbed his temples. Why do I always feel that there is something fishy here? Chapter 103. There was no time to think about it. The sun struggled for a while, then completely disappeared. The heavy rain suddenly fell again. Li relied on the fact that there were not many zombies on the beach, and actually found a car with the key inserted. Seeing that there was still a lot of gas in the tank, he drove directly into the coastal road and slowly patrolled to see if there were any Q country ships on the coastal docks. Wang Difu, who was accompanying him, kept looking at the sky cautiously. Even when he got into the car, he turned his head to the skylight above and looked very seriously. However, from the beginning to the end of this operation, there was no group of strange zombie bats passing by. The third brother had a brainwave. Maybe this group of bat zombies are chasing the eagle. After all, there are also mammals among the things that the eagle preys on. They chased over to get a share of the pie. But I read in Popular Science that eagles don't like to come out on rainy days. It's raining so hard today. It will definitely not come out. Old Four said with a chuckle, "Don't be afraid if it comes. We have Defu. Defu is strong and powerful." Although they laughed a few words, the two of them were still looking at the boats outside seriously. It's just that the rain is getting heavier and heavier, and the car window glass is all white, and you can't see what's outside. I didn't expect that the rain this year would be so heavy. Get off the car. Leo decisively stopped doing useless work. There is a boat outside. Let's get on the boat first, and then drive the boat to find it if it doesn't work. Although none of them can drive a boat. Lao Wang can. If it doesn't work, call Lao Wang through the intercom and give him remote guidance. The third and fourth brothers, who were just thankful that they didn't have to get wet in the rain, wailed, but still pulled up their raincoats obediently, hugged Defu, opened the car door, and rushed into the rain in one breath. There's a saying that goes, when it rains, it pours. This is the case for Chu Liang and the other four. It was difficult for them to walk on the muddy mountain road. They slipped from time to time and were covered in mud. That was fine. But it suddenly started to rain heavily. Even if the leaves were dense, They couldn't stop the rain. This wild road was so far away that it was difficult to hide. As the rain got heavier, Uncle Sure twitched his nose and became increasingly addicted. He. The smell of human flesh. Everyone froze. The crackling sound of rain hit everyone's heart. Are we going to kill Uncle Corpse here? Huff huff. The trees in the forest suddenly shook. This amplitude is totally beyond the reach of raindrops. Everyone's attention instantly shifted to that spot. In the whiteness, two fangs poked out, with pieces of meat hanging on the fangs. And the blood was no longer visible, probably washed away by the heavy rain. Soon, a thick nose appeared under the fangs. And like Uncle Corpse, it sniffed hard. Even the cicadas stopped chirping without knowing when. Get on the tree. Chu Liang made a prompt decision and commanded everyone. The thicker the better. Pay attention to guard against the zombie animals on the tree. Immediately, Chu Liang wanted to take the postgraduate entrance examination before. So he looked up many schools and learned some interesting stories from various places. For example, wild boars often appear in D City University, and students of D University jokingly call them wild boar seniors. There are many wild boars in D City, and there are even more in Nanshan. D City. It is cute to see them at ordinary times. After all, people and pigs do not invade each other and live in peace. But now, if the wild boars become zombies, they don't want to die here. The heavy rain made it impossible for people to open their eyes, and the tree trunks were extremely slippery. But the four of them suddenly burst out with a strong desire to survive. With the help of some small tools in their backpacks, they successfully climbed the tree in the rain. No. What are you doing? Uncle Corpse stood below with a blank face. He thought that the human smell he smelled was brought by wild boars. But he couldn't understand how the group of zombies from B City around him could climb the tree as soon as they turned their heads. Wang Chang cleared his throat and said to the people below, Uncle Corpse, you come up and take shelter too. What if this wild boar is a skeleton monster? Even if it is not. If it hits you without knowing how hard it is, and breaks a bone somewhere, it will also affect our speed of catching people to eat. Makes sense. Uncle Corpse was once again impressed by the wisdom of the zombies in City B. He chose a thick tree and planned to climb up. The zombie boar was dizzy by the human smell in the forest and was almost crazy with hunger. Its IQ was not high. When it saw something moving under the tree, it rushed over and tried to catch it and eat it. Lin Qingyu watched from a distance and became a little worried. As we all know, zombies devouring each other can easily lead to the appearance of skeleton monsters. If the wild boar eats Uncle Corpse and evolves into a skeleton boar, no one will live. Fortunately, the zombie boar poked Uncle Corpse a few times and confirmed that the other party was also a zombie. So it let Uncle Corpse go in dismay and went crazy in the mountains, shouting and roaring, and occasionally bumping into the big tree next to it. The four people hugged the big tree under them tightly, looking miserable. On the top of the mountain, a zombie in exotic clothes was teasing the eagle on his shoulder. The eagle suddenly listened and seemed to hear something that humans didn't hear. The zombie looked cold, looked in the direction of the eagle's tilted head, threw the handkerchief in his hand that was used to wipe the eagle's feathers on the ground, and called the zombie impatiently. There is movement on the southwest side of the mountain. It is estimated that the human team that grows flowers has sneaked in. You go and have a look. After the zombies under his command went down, the zombie snorted coldly and casually asked someone to serve a piece of fresh human flesh. His face was full of gloom and cruelty. Really? Like stink bugs? They keep coming one after another. In just 3 days, they sent several waves of meat. They really don't know how to live or die. The earth will belong to us Q country zombies. This zombie is not tall, but very thin. If it weren't for the normal blue-gray skin on his exposed hands, he would look a bit like a skeleton monster wearing clothes. Let's call him the leader of Q country zombies. He touched his eagle partner again with some regret. Just like the old three families all love to play with carrier pigeons, this Q country leader corpse family is also a family that has inherited the training of old eagles. After becoming a zombie, his unwilling obsession awakened his wisdom, and he even restrained his desire to eat the eagle. With the help of this eagle partner with keen hearing and good eyesight, he found many humans to eat, and relied on the eagle to attract zombie bats, slowly developing and expanding his own power. But he didn't expect that D City had been raining continuously recently, which made his eagle unwilling to go out, giving this group of flower growers an opportunity to take advantage of it. Chu Liang and his friends were trapped in the tree. and they were really soaked like drowned rats. They were shivering, and there was no way to use the odor simulant, because the rain had completely soaked the effect. Uncle Corpse couldn't be counted on. The wild boar corpse hit the tree for a long time, but it only shook a little. It failed to successfully break the trees, as thick as water jars in Nanshan. It soon became angry, turned its fangs, and rushed towards Uncle Corpse again. Uncle Corpse was shocked. He. Save me. The pigs are eating corpses. Wang Changnan rarely has a little brother, and he was also worried about how to solve this problem. He simply gestured to Uncle Corpse. Uncle. He is going crazy now. You run downstairs and collect a wave of our local zombies to go up the mountain from the path and save us. This is our canteen. How can we give it to the Q Country zombies? He didn't want to lead the zombies outside into the base. What if the situation becomes more chaotic? But now he can't care about it, seeing that the wild boar will break the tree sooner or later. He will first call people. No. Call the zombies to come to save us. Then, with his level of intelligent zombies, he should be able to command some ordinary zombies not to attack humans randomly. Right? Seeing that the zombies in the city had said so, Uncle Zombie would not talk about sharing life and death, and ran away, wishing he had more legs. No one dared to use guns, although they all carried guns with silencers in their backpacks. The guns with silencers would still make some noises, not to mention that the wild boar had thick skin and flesh and was transformed into a zombie. Whether the bullet could aim at its head and kill it in one shot. Just say that the sound. But the sound of rain may not be covered. If their current smell attracts the Q Country zombies, they will probably die. The rain on the plum rain day always comes in waves. After this downpour, the rain in the forest gradually subsided. They could see the appearance of the zombie wild boar more clearly with the telescope, which was more terrifying than ordinary wild boars. The rain was light. Spray the odor agent, and prepare to get down from the tree. Chu Liang made a few gestures to make sure that the three people on the left and right were clear, then rubbed his cold hands, reached into the backpack in the raincoat, and began to grope. Hua! 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 Suddenly, there was a sound in the forest that seemed to be people stepping on the grass. The grass in the forest was already very lush, and when Chu Liang and the others came up, they needed Uncle Corpse to cut off some branches and leaves with a machete from time to time to make it convenient. Keep the troops still. Chu Liang gestured to the three people on the tree beside him, and only took out the odor simulant, shook it, and instructed everyone to spray a layer lightly in the drizzle. The grass was pushed aside, and several zombies came out. Chu Liang and the other four held their breath and leaned close to the tree trunk, not daring to move. The rain stopped completely, and the sun came out again. The water vapor in the forest was steaming, and it was even hotter. The temperature of the few people was slowly rising with the temperature, but after reaching a peak, it was suppressed by the odor simulant again. Hee. The zombies below pointed at the wild boar and communicated. Wang Changnan moved his ears. Feeling extremely depressed, he didn't understand a word. It turns out that there are dialects among zombies? Why didn't he find it before? Could it be that the dialects are divided by country? After a few zombies talked, they took out their guns, surrounded the wild boar, and easily harvested the wild boar's life. But they did not leave in a hurry. Instead, they searched the place again, and soon found the traces of Chu Liang and his team going up the mountain. After a while of chirping, the zombies looked around and began to search around cautiously. Cicada. As soon as the rain stopped, the cicadas started to cry again. South close. Chu Liang felt that his ears were almost deafened. This endless cicada chirping probably also annoyed the zombies. After searching for a while, they found the footprints of Uncle Corpse going down the mountain, and then dragged the wild boar corpse away. Thank God. The previous heavy rain had almost covered up the footprints of Chu Liang and his team when they came. As soon as the zombies walked away, the four of them slipped down silently, climbed over the fence, and hid in a parking lot hut halfway up the mountain. They had to get some Isatis root as a precaution. Listen. Wang Changnan didn't drink. He stayed outside and heard the sound of the eagle again. There seemed to be traces of bats behind him. Chu Liang drank it all in one gulp and sighed. This is a bit troublesome. This is the first time I have encountered this kind of zombie routine. Chapter 104. Lynching you, all ears. Ming Ning would like to hear the details. Wang Changnan didn't have many idioms left, so he decided to find another way to please Chu Liang. Just say it. Chu Liang. Just make do with it. What else can we do? In fact, the development of intelligent zombies has far exceeded Chu Liang's knowledge. Reserves? He thought for a while, if I'm not mistaken. There must be people or zombies in Q country who can play with eagles. Eagles have excellent eyesight and good hearing. As long as it doesn't rain. They are really living clairvoyants. Much more sensitive than drones. After the eagle took off, the zombie bats chased after it. Followed the eagle to eat people, or the zombies followed the eagle to catch people. If they were not prepared. Most people would not be very prepared for the birds above their heads. After all, birds are not mammals, and will not turn into zombies. Wang Chang'an thought thoughtfully, so the team came in a few days ago, just before the rainy season. It was sunny, and it was easy to be exposed. So we still took advantage of the eagles not coming out on rainy days? More than that, Chu Liang shook his head. Those professional teams were defeated here. It is impossible that they were just because of the eagles. The zombie bats in city should have been urgently reported to the whole country. They can't be completely unprepared for the sky. I suspect that the Q countrymen are still pretending to be survivors, and using this method to lure out the team. Although the trick is old, it is very useful. Now that I think about it, they are really lucky. They just happened to take advantage of the east wind of the rainy season. There were no eagles watching them. And no Q countrymen came out as survivor bait. So they could still get to this point smoothly. This explanation is indeed very reasonable. But now the problem is in front of us. If you go out on a sunny day, the odor simulant is effective. But it is easy to be discovered by eagles. And then caught by Q country zombies. If they find out that they are flower zombies, they will be thrown out at the least. Or killed at the worst. If you go out on a rainy day, you will not be discovered by eagles. But the odor simulant will be ineffective. And Xiaoyu and Mingning will be discovered and eaten together. After thinking through the pros and cons, Lin Qingyu and Mingning felt guilty. You two don't care about the odor simulant. But we are the ones who are holding you back. How about this? We stay in the building and wait. And you too. This is also a solution. However, for now, it is better to send these speculations out of D City as soon as possible, so that the troops coming to support will not suffer any more losses. This task will be handed over to the third brother. I hope his pigeons will not be eaten by eagles. After finishing a large cup of Isatis root and sleeping soundly, at 3 o'clock in the morning, Chu Liang and Wang Chang'an went up the mountain alone in the drizzle. Lin Qingyu and Mingning stayed alone. They also have a new mission, waiting for Uncle Corpse. There are many huge banana leaves nearby. Lin Qingyu patted her chest and guaranteed that she could use banana leaves to make a set of camouflage. Wear it on a sunny day and hide in the dense forest, ensuring that the eagle I would not find any clues. If Uncle Corpse successfully returns to the outskirts of D City, he will definitely sort out the zombies in the outskirts, and then attack the Nanshan base. Once they find that external forces have entered the game, Lin Qingyu and the others must send a signal to Chu Liang in time. The team is getting smaller and smaller. But perhaps because Wang Chang'an is always by his side, Chu Liang does not feel scared. At most a little lonely. Well, I miss the dog. Wang Bifu was in a small boat at this time, looking at the drizzle, missing his father, and howling to the sky, "Ah!" Before he could even whimper, Li Yi ruthlessly pinched his mouth. What's going on? My dads all made me whimper. Difu threw a tantrum. Difu rolled over. Difu turned off the engine. The bad uncle was cruel and merciless, and didn't feel sorry for the dog at all. Wang Chang'an and Chu Liang were continuing to climb the mountain. The mountain was extremely quiet at 3 o'clock, and the cicadas in the rain fell silent again. The only sound around was the rustling of their footsteps, because this was already halfway up the mountain. In just over an hour, they had reached the outer edge of the flat land on the top of the mountain. The top of Nanshan Mountain is a huge flat land, and the slope of the back mountain is also gentle. The D-City safety base was urgently built on the top of the mountain and the slope, and many small buildings were built, which were originally for the survivors to live in. There is another wall on the flat ground, which is the last line of defense of the safe base. Unfortunately, it seems that the Q country zombies have not been stopped. Be careful. Chu Liang pressed Wang Chang'an, who wanted to go out, and whispered, It's almost dawn. Yes. It's almost 5 o'clock now. If it weren't for the continuous rain in June, it would have been bright by now. Wang Chang'an shrank back and squatted in the bushes, whispering back, Then how do we get in? Chu Liang also scratched his scalp and could only take one step at a time. He took out a telescope and looked carefully at the wall not far away. It would have been better if he didn't look at it. When he looked at it, Chu Liang was almost furious and his eyes were bloodshot. On the wall, there were a dozen humans hanging. Clearly the members of the flower-growing teams from various places, who had come to investigate the situation before. Wang Chang'an didn't understand why Chu Liang hit the muddy ground so hard. He raised his telescope and was furious. Q country is really disgusting. Do they think that they can intimidate the survivors internally and scare off the flower-growing teams coming later? No. It will only arouse everyone's anger for revenge. Wait a minute. Chu Liang licked his lips. Calm down. And shook Wang Chang'an's arm excitedly. They are still alive. Wang Chang'an was stunned and hurried to take a closer look. Sure enough, many people's chests were still slightly heaving. It seemed that it was rainy during the recent plum rain season, and they at least had no shortage of water, which is why they persisted for these days. Why didn't the Q country zombies kill them? Most likely they thought that this would be more intimidating to the survivors of the flower planting. But without food, medical treatment, heavy rain and sun, they couldn't hold on for long. Chu Liang had only one thought. They had to try to save these warriors. Ming Ning and Lin Qingyu had just peeled off the leaves of the banana tree and made them into coats. Now they were wearing bananas and lying on a big tree, disguised as bananas growing on the tree, which could not only prevent rain, but also camouflage. And most importantly, they could perfectly monitor the wild road up the mountain. At first glance, the banana on the tree was outrageous, but it seemed that there was no problem in deceiving the eagle. But before they saw Uncle Corpse, they saw Chu Liang and Wang Chang'an and hurried back. Chu Liang waved his hand, signaling them to come down together. After checking the surrounding environment and closing the doors and windows of the parking lot, he immediately talked to Li Yao on the intercom when the agreed time came. After hearing Chu Liang's analysis, Li Yao finally knew what he felt was wrong before. Their team was not idle either. They successfully found a ship from Country Q. Sure enough, they found traces of human life and signs of zombie activities inside. It was confirmed that humans and zombies were colluding with each other. There was even a batch of bird cages. It seems that these zombie bats were also brought by Country Q itself. Leo and his team took a lot of photos and videos, which will be irrefutable evidence in the international public opinion field in the future. Chu Liang urged Lao San to send the message. Lao San was glad that he brought 2 pigeons. One had been released, and the other was just in time. The government was indeed much more powerful than them. A few college students. At the beginning, they repeatedly asked Lao San to memorize the secret message, and all the text had to be deciphered twice. Now it is of great use, so that even if the pigeon is intercepted by the eagle of Q country, the other party will not be able to understand what is written on it. No, not just pigeons. Pigeons are not safe. Chu Liang heard that they got a car, and he was immediately happy. He took a deep breath and calmed down, and went over the idea in his mind several times. I want you to retreat immediately, return to City C, and send back the message. There are still people alive in the team ahead, who are hung on the city wall by the zombies of Q country. We are in urgent need of support. What? The third brother slapped the boat. This is too much. I'll go back and get help now. Zombies and humans are reconcilable. And now there is the new and old hatred between Q country and flower planting. Who cannot hate it? Lin Qingyu and Ming Ning looked at each other and asked, what about us? Chu Liang looked at Ming Ning's strong arms, Lin Qingyu's calmness, and thought about the fighting power and brains of the third and fourth brothers. You meet up with the third and fourth brothers and go back to see City together. Li comes over and stay with the 2 of us. Everyone didn't ask more questions and followed Chu Liang's instructions. Those who returned to see City set a meeting place and acted quickly, taking advantage of the heavy rain. The Q country zombies retreated, and Chu Liang's 2 small teams regrouped. Ming Ning, Lin Qingyu, the third and fourth brothers, plus Defu, the 4 of them and a dog went back to City C to report the news. Leo stayed behind and followed the path Chu Liang told him. He climbed and fell all the way, and finally arrived at the halfway point of the mountain covered in mud. Can I help you? Leo didn't care how embarrassed he was. When he saw Chu Liang for the first time, he blurted out, just tell me. Chu Liang told Leo about the things on the wall. Leo clenched his fists. Hack him. Take me to see. I'll observe. I have some energy bars in my bag. If I can get close to them. At least I can. It's hard to get close from the outside. Chu Liang shook his head. Q Country's intelligent zombies are more ruthless than ordinary intelligent zombies. Perhaps because of the current shortage of manpower. They have not developed much territory outside the base. But they still have a lot of zombies, and Q countrymen guarding the wall on the top of the mountain. Lynching you often comes to Nanshan to sketch. But a new base has been built on the mountain. And she can't find a way to get in. Are you going to use my Angry Bird's catapult again? Liu touched his chin. The materials are a bit difficult for me. It's not easy to rub my hands. No. Chu Liang shook his head. We have to do something big. As a representative of the B City Zombie King, it's normal to have a friendly meeting with the current leader of the Q country. When two countries are at war, they don't kill the envoys. Wang Chainan was a little unconfident and touched his head. No. Liang. After all, I'm not the big liar that Lao San is. I don't have the confidence to guarantee that these crazy Q country zombies will not chop off our envoys. Moreover, their hee-hee is not quite the same as our hee-hee. I don't understand. Be more confident. Chu Liang shook his head. Since he had the odor simulant, he would not be exposed when he spoke. He could fool people in Chinese or English. But the most important thing was, it will take a while for us to get reinforcements. But there is a group of forces that can support us immediately. At the bottom of the mountain, Uncle Corpse had already brought over 20 zombies and was ready to fight. Chapter 105. Chu Liang and the other two wore banana clothes and went down the mountain immediately when the rain stopped. They happened to meet the team of corpse uncles who had gathered secretly at the foot of the mountain. The chosen corpse uncle did not disappoint. The Q country zombies should have taken the opportunity to kill many local zombies. But there were also many fish that slipped through the net. The corpse uncle carefully selected more than 20 strong and young zombies from some corners, and planned to take the opportunity to choose a rainy night and crawl up the mountain. The plan has changed, Wang Chainan said concisely. Let's prepare some weapons first, and then demonstrate head-on. The corpse uncle was confused. His few wisdoms told him that this seemed a bit too high profile. Didn't we plan to launch a sneak attack? He can already speak some human language. It seems that his IQ is improving over time. Hey. Wang Chainan glanced at Chu Liang and waved his hand. We should be able to use both courtesy and military power. That's what makes a great country like us. Old Wang took these 20 or so zombies to the mall. He wanted to buy some clothes for these zombies for free and dress them up so that they could pretend to be all intelligent zombies. With him and Uncle Corpse, two intelligent zombies, controlling the situation. These ordinary zombies should not run out of control. Chu Liang took Liu and went directly to the largest police station in City D. There was only one pistol in their backpacks, which was not enough. Even if the guns in the police station were taken away, there should be some electric batons. In short, they had to arm this zombie team so that people would not dare to attack easily. Both sides were basically indoors, and they were alert to the sky when they went out, so they were not discovered. 2 hours later, the two groups of people gathered in the mall in City D. The food in the mall should have been emptied by the government. But the government was not very interested in those high-quality men's and women's clothing. So there were a lot left. Wang Chainan also gave each zombie a backpack. And the three humans mixed in it were even more inconspicuous. Chu Liang and his team found a lot of guns without bullets, which could be used to pretend. The rainy night began, and a group of zombies walked quietly and quickly towards the mountain. Although Liu's smell gradually drifted out during the rainy night, because there were too many humans gathered on the top of the mountain, and Wang Chainan repeatedly warned them. No zombie dared to touch Liu or take a bite. When the morning light was faint, the rain was about to stop. At Wang Chainan's command, the smart zombies with 4 flexible fingers quickly helped the people in the team change their clothes and cut their hair. Li Yao and Chu Liang took the opportunity to throw away the dirty clothes and sprayed a burst of smell simulation in the woods, and then walked out boldly with confidence. With the cry of the eagle overhead, Wang Chainan led the team to appear elegantly in front of the flat ground on the top of the mountain. We are the subordinates of the zombie king of City B. Before he finished speaking, the Q country zombies on the wall had already pulled the safety pins and aimed their guns at the zombies. The dying human team members on the wall moved their wrists fixed to the wall with difficulty, and their hearts were full of despair. They underestimated the wisdom of the zombies. If the zombies of the two countries united, humans would be even more passive. What? Chu Liang stepped forward and asked in fluent Q country language. Do you want to provoke a war between the flower planting and Q country? Unexpectedly, Chu Liang is a student majoring in English, and the college requires him to learn a second foreign language. Chu Liang was busy working and didn't have much time to learn another difficult language. He simply chose the Q country language, which he had some basic knowledge of, which was easier to learn and graduate. He sneered and pulled out his gun. You sneaked in and ate our food, which was already very bold. Now you want to kill the corpses to silence them? I might as well tell you that our B-City Zombie King has unified B-City and is heading towards various provinces. It's just that the satellite showed that something was wrong in D-City, so we were sent to take a look in advance. You can kill us, but be prepared to bear the wrath of my flower-planting Zombie King. This set of small words not only demonstrated the strength of the flower-planting Zombie King, but also stated the consequences of killing them. In addition, this group of zombies can suddenly appear on the top of the mountain like a god descending from the sky. And they are dressed cleanly and have guns on their waists. If they fight, it is really hard to say. The zombies on the city wall really dared not move easily for a while. They looked at each other for a few times. It was still a human who came out, pressed the weapons in the hands of the zombies, and said with a flattering smile, "Wait a moment. Everyone, I will go and inform our general." This was said in the language of planting flowers. Chu Liang turned his head and looked at Wang Chang'an. These are probably the Q country people who can speak fluent planting language and deceive the flower growers. Li Yi gently touched his neck, hinting to the two, when necessary, kill the Q country people together. They are not good people. They didn't want to kill anyone, but it was obvious that these people were more hateful than zombies. Uncle Corpse, I feel like I'm excluded for some reason. After a while, the gate of the wall opened, and the human trotted over to greet Chu Liang and his group. Please come this way. But weapons? Wang Chang'an sneered and slapped the gun. Do you want us to hand over our weapons? Surrender? And let you kill us at will? As soon as these words came out, the human looked at the zombies on the wall with a bitter face. A zombie that looked higher in level nodded slightly, and the human breathed a sigh of relief, and did not mention the weapons again, and led everyone directly into the wall. Chu Liang observed the surroundings calmly. On the small road in the base, only the Q country zombies and humans came out when the rain stopped, walking in twos and threes. Some of the curtains on the houses on both sides were not drawn, but it was dark inside, with no signs of human life. I don't know where the survivors who originally lived in the flower-growing area have gone. The zombies walked all the way to a snow-white building. It was originally the headquarters of the D-City security base, and it seems that it is now the residence of the general, the leader of the Q country zombies. Please come in. The door opened, and the pungent smell of blood stimulated Chu Liang to the point of frowning. But the long-term experience of Oscar statuettes made Wang Chang'an, Chu Liang, and Li Yi all smelled it with the zombies. It smells so good. Oh! A zombie slowly walked down the stairs. Judging from his appearance, it was most likely a general. He was wiping the corner of his mouth and looking at everyone. Welcome. Welcome. Butler, go cut some fresh human flesh to entertain the guests. He actually spoke a flower language. Chu Liang didn't know whether he knew it naturally or learned it in the few days since he came to the safe base. But it seemed that the group of people from Q country who came across the sea had great ambitions. No need. Wang Chang'an showed his rebellious style as the zombie king back then, sat on the sofa beside him, and put his feet on the coffee table. Guests? Aren't all the humans here ours? Good fellow. You are so shameless to take over the host. The faces of the Q country zombies below turned black, and they all glared at Wang Chang'an. Don't say that. Wang'an, Chu Liang said lightly. Since the Q country zombies are more skilled, it's no big deal to let them have 2 full meals. One of them played the good cop, and the other played the bad cop. And they squeezed the Q country zombies hard. General, it can be heard that the one sitting on the sofa should be one of the zombie kings. I didn't expect the flower-growing zombies to develop so fast that they actually found their traces with satellites. They thought that the flower-growing human army was stronger, and the 2 tigers would definitely not pay attention to their Q country's movements when they were fighting. It was still a mistake. Some of the zombies at the back of this batch of zombies were obviously of lower level, and they were a little restless when they smelled the blood of humans. But the leaders in front, except for the first sentence, were not affected at all. I'm afraid their wisdom is not inferior to mine, I thought, the general said with a pleasant face. Compared with the national differences, We now only have racial disputes. We are all new intelligent races. The corpse uncle rolled his eyes secretly behind him. Let alone anything else. You can eat 10 people. And now a corpse suddenly runs into your mouth and snatches 5 of them. Who would like it? Wang Chang'an snorted coldly. Interesting. Well, he had a lot of dirty words to say. But he had to hold it in. So he could only say a few words. Chu Liang looked moved and smiled slightly, to be honest. Our zombie king specially sent King in here to see if we can cooperate in a friendly manner. The general raised his eyebrows and immediately invited everyone to move to the conference room and sit down to discuss in detail. He also wanted his men to give a human leg to a corpse in City B. But Chu Liang declined politely. Time is tight. The mission is urgent. And we have other cities to join forces with. So we won't eat it for now. The general was a little suspicious. They had also captured some flower-growing soldiers before. But at first, they didn't realize that they were humans at all. They smelled like intelligent zombies. Fortunately, the citizens of Country Q disguised themselves as survivors and lured them out. They searched their bodies later and found that this was an odor simulant invented by flower growing. The scientific research strength of flower-growing humans is still amazing. The atmosphere was a little stagnant for a while. Wang Chang'an sneered, grabbed the knife on the table, and cut his palm. The skin and flesh turned over, and there was black zombie blood inside, which slowly dripped onto the carpet. Is it okay? You are so timid and unpresentable. Killing like crazy. Lao Wang is full of hatred. This is Lao Wang's latest discovery. After contacting the radioactive stone, his wisdom did not develop much, but he seemed to be able to control the zombie virus in his body. As long as he wanted, he could concentrate the zombie virus in one part of the body and show complete zombieization, being scolded again and again by the zombies in B City. The zombies in Q Country looked a little unhappy. But who made them doubt others first? The Q people saw that the atmosphere was not right, and hurried out to smooth things over. Dear zombies, don't hurt the harmony because of those stink bugs. Come! Come! The meeting room is here. We will prepare snacks for you to take away. No. Wang Chang'an rolled his eyes and walked to the front. I'm afraid you will poison me. Don't know what's good for you. The general tilted his head and ordered, didn't you hear that you don't want it? Okay. Go and set up the meeting room. After everyone sat down, the general opened the screen with some pride. Cooperate with us. You won't suffer. At present, Q Country should have completed the national zombie rule. I received news that in 5 days, Q Country will collectively migrate to planting flowers. At that time, we can help you and attack the army of planting flowers together. No wonder these zombies are not in a hurry to come out on plum rain days. It turns out that they are waiting for the big army. Chu Liang quickly recalled the permanent population of Q Country. Even if only 30% were taken, it would be a huge disaster if they really came to plant flowers. Chapter 106. Chu Liang, Lao Wang, and Li Yu all thought of this at the same time. Wang Chang'an angrily slammed the table. What? You still want to come so much to rob our rations? Isn't it too much? General smiled cunningly and slightly pressured the flower-growing party. The world's rations are all our intelligent zombies. Why do you have to take yours and mine? You haven't unified here for a long time. It seems that the power of the flower-growing human army cannot be underestimated. So why don't we join forces? Besides, we have a lot of good things in our Q Country. He deliberately left his words halfway and looked at the human on the side. The human was like a pug, always watching the general's face, and immediately continued the conversation. Our Q Country scientists have developed a way to make humans produce more. And then we can cooperate and share. They are obviously human beings, but they don't hesitate to turn to zombies and hurt their compatriots in order to survive. Holding back the disgust, the three continued to act. Chu Liang pretended to be bright-eyed and pulled the impulsive prince in. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Li Yu spoke at this time. He stopped recording and looked up from his notebook. So, the eagle and zombie bats in the sky are indeed your work. This kind of flower zombie is quite powerful. It can even guess they're good partners. The general no longer concealed it and blew a whistle. An eagle flew straight from the window and stood on his shoulder. Everyone looked in the direction. And in the lower house, there were still many zombie bats flapping their wings and holding the glass, trying to break free. It's just a trifle, not worth mentioning. The general touched the eagle's feathers with satisfaction and took the opportunity to show the strength of Q Country. There will be more than 10 eagles coming from our country to assist in the battle. Hee hee. Wang Changnan jumped up. None of the Q country zombies present expected that he would suddenly jump up and catch the eagle so fast. Let me touch it. Old Wang, I have traveled all over the country and faced the skeleton monsters. How can I let you stop me? The general slapped the table. His face turned black. Come back. You are so rude. Are you going to go to war with us? Liya threw the pen and stood up. Be careful with your words. A large group of people followed behind them. Although Uncle Corpse's brain couldn't keep up with their verbal battles, his actions could definitely lead everyone to follow. Unable to figure out whether the zombie team in City B would suddenly come to attack him, the general had to suppress his anger and looked at Chu Liang. Is this your etiquette? Chu Liang shrugged. Humans are a country of etiquette. And I am a zombie. But our king is a little childish. He has only been a zombie for a short time. I am really sorry. Kingin, why don't you return the eagle to him? Wang Changnan reluctantly threw it on the general's arm. Just look at what's wrong. He said he would share technology with us. But now, he even chirps when he sees a bird. He is so petty. The general was almost furious after being blamed for no reason. However, the beloved eagle returned to his shoulder and touched it. It seemed to be fine. It just flew back normally. He held back his anger. That's it. You can go back. Q Country said that the other side will arrive in 5 days. But it is absolutely impossible to arrive in 5 days. The group must pass this message out immediately. I am afraid there will be a big war. Although they have not yet detected where they have detained ordinary survivors. They are not far from the places behind the mountain. Chu Liang nodded. And did not stay any longer. Signaling everyone to retreat. Walking to the door. Chu Liang touched his stomach and naturally asked the human beside him, are you really not going to treat me to a meal? I didn't talk about not wanting to eat just now. And now that we have finished talking, everyone is hungry. What's wrong with you? The Q countryman complained. I was going to serve you food just now. But you didn't eat it. Now the general is furious. I'll treat you to a meal for 10 people. Will the general eat me to cheer you up later? He had to put on a flattering smile. You see, it's not very convenient here now. TSK. Wang Changnan looked at the Q countryman with disdain. And pointed at the special forces hanging on the wall. I'm starving. Pack these up and take them away. Or I'll eat you. Even zombies. Li Yo was shocked and grabbed Wang Chenon's hand. My king. You can't eat zombies anymore. Have you forgotten what the team doctor said? If you eat another one, you will really become a skeleton monster. Chu Liang looked at the scene in front of him in embarrassment. And he seemed to say a joke. You see? This is all my fault. But you know the temper of our kingin. Of course I know. Just now, he almost ate the general's beloved eagle. The Q countryman swallowed his saliva. He saw that he could either give them some food and send them away, or he would become their food. Thinking that the general would not come out for a stroll, he noticed that there were fewer people on the city wall. The Q countryman waved his hand and shouted to the zombies on the wall in the Q country language. The general has ordered. Let them go. Take these people back to the friendly countries to eat. The special forces soldiers on the wall have been hanging for several days, dying, and some have already rotted. The Q country zombies are not interested in eating them now. Looking at the large group of flower-growing zombies below, he was happy to do a favor. So he untied the shackles and let the people go. A total of 12. 3 sacrificed. Chu Liang gritted his teeth to prevent tears from flowing, and ordered the zombies to carry all the special forces team members on their backs and walk down the mountain openly. We will take them back and eat them slowly. It seems inconvenient to eat here. Chu Liang looked around and said politely to the Q country people. The Q country people wanted them to leave quickly. Otherwise if the general found out that they acted on their own. So Chu Liang and the others went down the mountain naturally. Uncle Corpse led the way. Lao Wang held the fort. Chu Liang and Li Yo walked cautiously in the middle, alert at all times to prevent those ordinary zombies from suddenly attacking people. After all, they couldn't spray the odor simulant directly in front of everyone. As they walked out of the Nanshan area, the sky became cloudy, and it looked like it was going to rain again. Chu Liang pointed to a hotel on the side of the road and told everyone go in and take a rest. As soon as they entered the door, Uncle Corpse asked in confusion, are we going to fight them? Why are we cooperating? As he spoke, he looked at the team members on the ground and drooled. Uncle Corpse, this matter is very complicated. We are just playing tricks on them. To be honest, It's a bit difficult to come over from City B. We have to take on this task ourselves. I'll trouble you to go out and find some more zombies. Don't worry. We will definitely keep this ration for you. Wang Chang'an held Uncle Corpse's hand, looking serious. Uncle Corpse knew that it was Wang Chang'an who awakened his wisdom, and he was still very convinced of him. Nodding on the spot, don't worry. Leave it to me. He plunged into the rain, intending to bring some more brothers with him. Without Uncle Corpse, the remaining ordinary zombies were nothing to be afraid of. Wang Chang'an led them to lock up in the room in groups of 3 or 5. And the hotel instantly became quiet. Hurry up and rescue. Li Yo took off his backpack, sweating. Just now on the road, he had sneaked up to the surviving soldiers, and on the pretext of seeing if they were delicious, he stuffed some emergency medicine in their mouths to help them keep their last breath. A soldier reached out and grabbed Li Yu's hand, opened his eyes, and his eyes were full of unyielding. It's me. We are human beings, Li Yu whispered, and took the initiative to hold the soldier's hand. Touch it. Is it warm? Hearing this, he loosened his hand and fainted with relief. Li Yu was busy while directing Chu Liang and Li Yu. The 3 of them turned around and finally saw the rise and fall of the 9 people's chests gradually increased. They hadn't eaten for a long time, and they drank dirty rainwater. If they hadn't been vaccinated, they would probably have turned into zombies. Chu Liang took the time to find some flammable materials in the hotel kitchen, boiled a pot of hot water, and looked for materials. He found some white sugar and rice, and poured them into the hot water, and slowly stewed them. The first batch of soldiers sent here were all strong. After Li Yu and his team had gone through so much trouble, they changed into clean clothes, drank a bowl of hot rice porridge, and fell asleep. Li Yu was worried, so he took out anti-inflammatory and antipyretic tablets and stuffed them into their mouths. Seeing that all 9 people had fallen asleep, Chu Liang and his team finally had time to look at the 3 soldiers who had died. Li Yu secretly wiped his tears, sighed, and looked at Chu Liang. What should we do? Chu Liang, like before, trembled and took off the nameplate on the martyr's body. Looking at the soft land in the rain, bury it deeper. I hope it will rest in peace. No! An abrupt voice sounded. Chu Liang looked back and saw that one of the soldiers had woken up. He was the one who was in the best condition before and grabbed Li Yu's hand. He tiredly supported the door frame. Q Country is more cunning than you think. Wang Chang'an raised his hand. The eagle was smeared with Li Yu's super-stimulating mint mouthwash. It should not be able to see clearly these days. Don't worry about the eagle finding that the soil has been turned over. Chu Liang looked at Li Yu in surprise. He thought Li Yu was carrying mouthwash because of his idle burden, but he didn't expect it to be used to irritate the eyes. Li Yu was calm and composed. It's the same principle as pepper water. He didn't want to attack the small animal, but the small animal stood on the side of the Q Country zombies. Hearing the human voices outside, the zombies in the room became a little agitated and started to beat around. Chu Liang took out the few remaining odor simulants and sprayed them on the soldiers. And then the room calmed down. But the soldier was right. If the remains of the martyrs were turned out, Q Country might find out about them. After all, the 3 of them couldn't dig a deep hole, and it would be strange if they moved outside for a long time. After thinking about it, the 3 of them solemnly cleaned and wrapped the 3 soldiers and put them in the hotel's cold storage, waiting for a safe time in the future to bury them properly. Back upstairs, there was one more soldier sitting, but he didn't look very good. Chu Liang urgently explained the cause and effect, and the 2 soldiers' faces became more and more gloomy. If Q Country really attacks the whole country, then C City, which also has no troops stationed and is not a military zone, will be the next safe base to fall completely. We will go back immediately. They gritted their teeth and stood up. We must report. Li Yu sighed. There is not much odor simulant left. Let me do it. Find a big car, and I will take them back to C City overnight. Chapter 107. Let's go together. Chu Liang quickly decided. With Wang Chang'an and I in the car, we can deal with it even if we are discovered by Q Country. Otherwise, it is too difficult to explain if you are in the same car. As for whether we will come back to continue the investigation or make other arrangements, we will listen to the instructions of the superiors. This is also good. Li Yu is more confident. After the plan was agreed, Chu Liang asked Wang Chang'an to guard here in case the corpse uncle brought back zombies, and he went out to look for a larger truck and the like. And by the way, Find some medicines that Liu asked. D-City's early security base did make some efforts. On both sides of the street, from large supermarkets to small convenience stores, a lot of supplies were collected by the government. Medicine is naturally the top priority, especially since hospitals are mostly dangerous, and pharmacies are the most convenient. Therefore, Chu Liang spent some time looking for medicines. He finally found some medicines that Liu wanted in a small pharmacy. When he went out again, it was raining again. Fortunately, even if he didn't have an odor simulant, he wouldn't be discovered as long as he kept his mouth shut and didn't speak. The last time he went out alone, Chu Liang and a skeleton monster almost died together. Fortunately, this time he went out. He walked along the wall. Along the way, except for a few scattered zombies, he didn't see any skeleton monsters or skeleton animals. In this way, he shuttled through the city in a low-key manner, and finally found a truck full of mud at the door of a vegetable market. The car door was wide open. The key was hanging on it, and the seat cushion was covered with mud brought down by the rain. The owner had disappeared. Chu Liang twisted it, and it was still working normally. But there was not much oil. This was not difficult. After being trained by Captain Qin and his team, he was a professional in stealing oil. While the rain was getting louder and louder, Chu Liang filled up the oil, put a plastic bag on the cushion, and drove the truck to the hotel smoothly. Except for the two who could move. The other 9 soldiers could not get up. The 3 of them dragged some soft blankets from the hotel and put them in the truck compartment, which would make the soldiers more comfortable. Let's go now. The first sober soldier was Liu Yong. He was very surprised to see the 3 people moving like ants. Ready to start? It's night now. Once we turn on the lights, we will be exposed. Wang Chang'an smiled and pointed to his head. No need to turn on the lights. The route is already in my mind. There are many talented people in the army who drive blindly with a complete map on their backs. Liu Yong instantly admired him. Good boy. Li Yao, you are too pretentious. Old Wang. Since there is no need to turn on the lights, driving at night is actually a kind of protection. Liu Yong, who was barely able to move, and Feng Ji, who woke up second, worked with Chu Liang and the other 3 to transfer the other 7 comrades to the truck compartment. Liu took care of the 9 people in the back, while Chu Liang and Old Wang drove in the front. As a zombie with the vision of a human and a human mind, Old Wang was full of confidence. It will take at most 3 hours to reach City C. Chu Liang's heart tightened. Does this count as a flag? It does. After more than 2 hours. I don't know if there was something wrong with the route map, or the old Wang who memorized the route map had a problem with his brain. Anyway, the tire of the car was stuck in the gap between 2 stone steps, and it was in a dilemma. At the same time, the rain stopped, and the smell in the car gradually dissipated. Zombies who came from nowhere had already smelled the smell of human flesh in the car, called their friends, and began to beat the car. I am the king of zombies. How could they not listen to my orders? Wang Chang'an couldn't believe it, and was about to jump out of the car and fight with them. Just when Chu Liang was about to go down to help, he suddenly heard the intercom on his waist buzzing. It seems that this place is not far from Sea City, and the 3rd and 4th brothers must be nearby, so they can receive matching signals. He quickly contacted the other side. Hello. Hello. Can you hear me? The distance is still a bit far. The intercom signal is not strong enough, and the voice is sizzling, but it is enough. Chu Liang tried hard to tell the Q country, but before he could tell the 9 soldiers, the signal was completely cut off. The zombies outside were howling, and Chu Liang was furious. He opened the car door and jumped down with a machete. What are you doing? Wang Chang'an didn't expect that this group of zombies were actually from Q country. They have already had some wisdom. And Wang Chang'an, who has a language communication barrier, can't give orders at all. He was entangled by several quite flexible zombies with 2 fists, and couldn't get away for a while. It seems that the Q country zombies are not completely hiding in the safe base. They have assigned some to patrol the entire D city. This group happened to meet Wang Chang'an and his team at the intersection of D and C cities. Fortunately, Chu Liang can speak the Q country language. He yelled and said that the carriage was full of tributes, which ordinary zombies like them could not eat, which made the zombies hesitate. He pointed to the tire stuck in the gap and yelled to the zombies, "Lift it together." The zombies did not react, and really helped to push the truck out. After a while, the zombies always felt that something was wrong, and looked at Chu Liang and Wang Chang'an steadily. "Hurry up and get in the car," Chu Liang called out. And Wang Chang'an immediately jumped into the car. While the zombies hadn't reacted yet, the two of them stepped on the accelerator and ran away. In City C, the third and fourth brothers received Chu Liang's message. Although Chu Liang hadn't had time to say that he was rushing back, their friendship over the past 3 years made them think that at this distance, Liang Liang and Lao Wang were probably running away. In order to avoid any accidents, they quickly reported to City C and led a team to meet them. When the two groups met, Chu Liang was leaning out of the passenger seat, trying to aim at the Q country zombies chasing behind. But his accuracy was not good enough, and he was probably a master of human body outline. The two soldiers sitting in the carriage couldn't help wanting to go out to fight, but were held back by Li Yao with this injury. If they were shot a few more times, the recoil would cause the wound to bleed profusely. Bang, bang, bang. After a series of gunshots, most of the zombies chasing the truck were killed or injured. Some of them even wanted to retreat and ran back. "Don't let any of them go. They are from Q country and will go back to report," Chu Liang shouted. The team brought by the third and fourth brothers had professional soldiers. After aiming their guns, all the zombies in sight were wiped out. When the truck arrived at the C City security base and entered the gate, Chu Liang and Lao Wang felt relieved. He jumped out of the car immediately and opened the rear door without talking to the third and fourth brothers. "What? You saved someone?" Lin Qingyu was overjoyed and quickly called the doctor in the base to carry the 9 people down on a stretcher. Lu Yong and Fengji wanted to walk by themselves, but Li Yao pressed them on the stretcher. "You have made a great contribution again this time." Unexpectedly, in addition to the original head of the base in City C, they were greeted by an old acquaintance, Commander Lu Yiming of City Z. Lu Yiming and Chu Liang were too familiar with each other, old friends, and he was humble and courageous. It seemed that he was ordered by his superiors to come to City C to take charge. "Long time no see." Everyone greeted each other. Chu Liang asked anxiously, "What about Q country?" Lu Yiming took them into the war room. This place was completely different from when they came a few days ago. It was probably because they left and the higher-ups immediately arranged it. The satellite clearly showed that Q country was preparing to cross the ocean now. Not 5 days later, the remaining Zombie King team in City B has been divided into 2 groups. We still need to take some time to fight them. We must not let them land in Q country. Otherwise we will be attacked from both sides, Lu Yiming explained, pointing to the plain outside. Although the zombies themselves said that Q country has been completely transformed into zombies, we still have to confirm it. After confirmation, instead of putting yourself in danger, it is better to make the entire Q country disappear. With Lu Yiming in charge of this matter, Chu Liang thought that he was just an ordinary male student and didn't need to worry too much. However, he remembered another thing, so he waited until everyone was gone before explaining the matter of Uncle Corpse. Lu Yiming pondered for a while, and just when he was about to say something, he looked up and saw Chu Liang's tired face. So he stopped talking and nodded to the two of them. "Go. Take a rest. This plum rain season makes people feel sticky." Chu Liang and Wang Chang'an haven't taken a good bath in the past few days when they were away from home. At this moment, they can't wait to take care of themselves. The third and fourth brothers at the door stretched their necks, finally waiting for the two to come out, and waved happily. "Look, who I brought." Wang Difu. The black and white lightning jumped up and flew in front of the two people, raised its front paws and pounced on them, pressing directly on Chu Liang's chest, making him almost take a step back. "Woof woof. Where on earth did you die? I miss you so much." After being licked, Wang Difu remembered his father, and hugged Wang Chang'an and licked him again. Luckily, he hadn't taken a shower yet. Chu Liang was just thankful for this. He patted the puppy spinning around and went back to sleep. When Chu Liang woke up after sleeping for 8 or 9 hours, he heard that only one of the several planes returned, confirming that the entire Q country had turned into zombies, and was ambitious to attack the nearest neighboring country. The port was full of large ships they had collected, and some had already set off. The chief felt that he could no longer be soft-hearted, and decided to launch the clearance plan this evening. Fortunately, they had taken City B back from the Zombie King before. Otherwise, they would not have been able to press the button. Several planes also alarmed the zombies of Country Q. They realized that perhaps some countries were also eyeing them, so they sped up the speed of boarding the ship. However, with the intercontinental missiles and various long-range strikes of the whole country. They could only wail unwillingly in the explosion and sea of fire. The few ships that escaped did not even dare to look back, and desperately drove forward. Although Chu Liang did not know the government's clearance plan, he believed in the government's strength. He and his friends were invited to have tea again. They were the people who had reached the top of the mountain. In order to save as many survivors from City D as possible in the battle with the zombies from Country Q, City C needed them to draw the distribution map of the top of the mountain as detailed as possible. City D. The corpse uncle, who had gone through so much trouble to recruit a bunch of zombies, came back to ask for credit. "Where is my boss? He ran away with the food?" Chapter 108. On a small island, Wang's parents were climbing a tall tree, holding a telescope and looking at the movement on the sea. "Wife, why do I feel something is wrong?" Wang's father looked around. "Why are there so many Q country ships, zombie dolphins, and the like on the sea? But they didn't attack them? Could it be that the Q country zombies are coming?" At her age, Wang's mother hasn't seen many zombie movies. Knowing that zombies are fashionable, she never thought that zombies can be intelligent. She just thought that most of the Q country people couldn't survive and planned to go to sea. But they didn't expect that there were zombies in the ship. And they were all killed. No matter what, we have to move quickly to avoid these zombies from landing on the island and discovering us. Mother Wang climbed down the tree, entered the hotel, took off her camouflage clothes, wiped her sweat and sighed. When will this day end? This island was originally used by the rich people like them for vacation. There are not many people on the island. After the zombie outbreak, Wang's parents happened to come here alive. But unfortunately, they didn't bring their son with them. The hotel's inventory was gradually eaten up, and everyone didn't distinguish between status. Money was just waste paper. A group of rich people who lived a life of luxury still had to work to find food. Fortunately, Wang's parents also started from scratch. They made their fortune through hardship and lived in the countryside. They could also find some food in the forest on the island. The zombie humans basically never ran out of the hotel. So the small animals on the island were basically normal. Wang's parents set up some traps, which also became the food source for the survivors on the island. Because Wang's parents were very capable and commanded properly, the 20 or 30 people still alive on the island all regarded them as leaders. Therefore, when Wang's parents came back and said that everyone lined up a table to take turns to climb the tree for alert, and the rest hid in the basement to isolate themselves from the smell, the one who climbed the tree this time was the eldest son of the rich Lin family. The family was rich, and the child liked archery. It was carefully cultivated since childhood. It can be said that he could shoot arrows from 100 steps and never missed. He originally wanted to create a national husband after this New Year vacation. He was going to participate in the Archery World Cup, but he was delayed by this zombie. Lin Qingwu's archery skills are also a great help for the islanders to defeat the zombies. He was squatting on a tree with his arrows on his back, bored, but suddenly saw through the telescope that several eagles were released from those ships. It was this appearance that allowed him to see the people on the nearest ship, who were indeed zombies. Although he didn't know why these eagles were released, as long as they were released by zombies, he always felt that something bad was going to happen. Putting down the telescope, drawing the bow and arrows, and shooting every arrow, Lin Qingwu smiled and said, "That's good. Give the guys in the sea a few birds to eat. Don't worry." Listening to the noise outside, Wang's mother patted her husband's hand. "The Lin family's children are reliable. Hold on. Our son is smart. He will definitely notify the government to come and save us." Wang's father sighed, smiled, and patted his wife's hand. The days of waiting were really long and difficult. Their eldest son Wang Chang'an was holding the dog repairer Wang Difu in a meeting. As the only one with a special physique who can perfectly disguise as a zombie, Wang Chang'an, Lu Yiming sincerely hopes that he can return to D City, manage the local zombie team in D City, and try to cause some damage to the Q country zombies to help them save people. Chu Liang objected a little. "It's already chaotic enough with Q country. If we bring in the local ones, won't the survivors be caught and eaten by both sides?" Lu Yiming looked at Wang Chang'an, and Wang Chang'an said sincerely, "I can only brainwash a small number of zombies. If there are too many zombies, they are not smart, but they may rush in to eat people. It doesn't matter." Lu Yiming's deputy's eyes lit up. "We have new drones that can carry spray odor eliminators and odor simulants, so that the survivors will not be harmed." Lu Yiming himself had a headache Where do so many drones come from? Do you have them or do I? There are only a dozen drones. And it is too difficult to control them while searching for survivors. The scene was deadlocked for a while. Everyone looked at the sand table and satellite display and fell into deep thought. What if we lure the tiger away from the mountain? Chu Liang suddenly had an idea and pointed to the coast. Most of the zombies from Country Q were killed by the zombie planting on their own land. But there were also a few ships that were speeding towards zombie planting. Zombies don't care about supplies. They can cram as much as they want into a ship. And there might be thousands of them on these large ships. If they really land, the coastal cities will be in big trouble. The zombies from Country Q and City D are still eagerly waiting for the large force to join them. If they know that the large force is blocked by the zombie planting on the shore, will they want to rescue them? Once they want to help and transfer some of their personnel, there will be a glimmer of hope for the survivors of the D City security base. It seems feasible. Lu Yiming thought about the plan quickly, and then pondered it in his mind for a long time. The group of people left the meeting room and waited for Lu Yiming to issue the final order. Wang Chang'an held the dog in one hand and Chu Liang in the other. He felt that Lu Yiming would probably send him and others out. After all, his and Chu Liang's physiques were too good to use. He was just a little worried about Chu Liang's health. But he respected Chu Liang's own ideas. He just hoped that the end of the world would end soon and Chu Liang could rest well. Chu Liang had no idea that the strong man next to him could have such a delicate mind. He was thinking about how to rescue as many survivors as possible in City D. As they thought about it, they turned around and went to the temporary hospital at the base to see the 9 soldiers. Lu Yong and Feng Ji were the strongest, and they were walking around. And they could also help take care of the other 7 soldiers from different places. It was then that everyone knew that these 9 people came from 3 different teams. From N City, H Province, and S Province, including B City represented by Chu Liang and his team. That was a full 4 territories. This discovery made everyone feel better. It turned out that there were still humans persisting in all parts of the motherland. After dinner, Chu Liang and his team were called back by Lu Yiming. Classmate Zhao Laosan, Lu Yiming said with a pleasant face. I heard that you also learned Q language as a second foreign language. Zhao Yisan. My name is Zhao Yisan. I am called Laosan every day. My boss only knows me as Zhao Laosan. But Zhao Yisan really knows Q language. He and Chu Liang are Chinese and English respectively. When Chu Liang signed up for a second foreign language, he followed him to learn it, so that he could play Q language games. The two of them often talked to each other in the dormitory to improve their spoken English. Maybe because they both have good language talents. Zhao Laosan's oral communication level is not worse than Chu Liang. But they are specialized in their fields. In simultaneous interpretation, he is definitely not as good as Chu Liang. Very good. Lu Yiming was overjoyed, but also a little nervous. We have considered this mission comprehensively, and you are the most suitable. But it is extremely dangerous. If you refuse, we can accept it. To be precise, everyone is in danger in this game. Wang Chang'an, Chu Liang and others went back to D City first, and sent out a signal after connecting with Uncle Corpse. If they did not connect, they would send out another signal. After sending out the signal, Wang Chang'an led a small number of zombies to the mountain to represent B City and Q Country in the second round of negotiations. He brought along Zhao Laosan, a zombie from Q Country that they had accidentally captured. When Zhao Laosan was dying, he said that he was from the Q Country army, and that there were human troops ambushing the Q Country army on the shore. If everything goes well, when the Q Country general leads part of his troops to the shore for support, it will be the time for Wang Chenan's forces on the mountain and down the mountain to converge, destroy the remaining Q Country forces in the D City security base, and rescue the survivors. But in fact, the facts are just the opposite. The zombies that Wang Chang'an brought up and down the mountain were all zombies disguised by humans using simulants, so as to maximize the safety of the survivors in the base. And the ones ambushed on the shore are real flower-growing zombies. If the corpse uncle cannot be contacted, then the ambushed on the shore are also flower-growing humans. It's not complicated to say. Everyone here understands. This is all putting their heads on the belt. If one of the people who went up the mountain with Wang Chang'an was asked by the Q Country zombie to cut his palm for identity identification, then everyone would die together. Zhao Laosan, the big liar who is responsible for acting, would be finished if he showed any flaws. Chu Liang's task is not easy either. He has to guard the coastline and negotiate with Q Country. If Uncle Corpse really got a group of local zombies, he would lead them to block the Q Country zombies. The human team stationed at the coastline had to pray that the plum rain would stop so that the odor simulant on their bodies could last longer. Every man has his share of responsibility for the rise and fall of the country. Zhao Laosan started to talk nonsense again. He wiped his tears. My parents' lives were saved by everyone. Everyone for me. And I for everyone. Isn't it just a scam? It's my specialty. No problem. If I come back alive, can you give me an Oscar? No. Lu Yiming patted Zhao Laosan seriously. I can only give you a Magnolia Award. The Oscar is not our responsibility. Chu Liang remembered something again. Eagles can't send messages. Right. Laosan is a carrier pigeon player, and often uses pigeons to send intelligence to various places. If eagles can do this, and there is a way to communicate between the two places in Q Country, Zhao Laosan will have to be more cautious in what he says. Otherwise it will be easy to be exposed. The eagle in the safe base was blinded by Li Ya's mouthwash. But what if there is one on the Q Country ship? Eagles can really be trained to send messages. But it's more difficult. Not impossible. Zhao Laosan, the pigeon expert, was so angry. If I can come back alive, I will have to ask for a Phaeton Award. No. I have to ask for a Grand Slam. The arrow is on the string, and has to be shot. We have to try our best. Anyway, the flower planting side is going to stop Q Country from landing. And we can't just watch the survivors of D City being eaten by these Q Country zombies. Let's fight like this for now. As long as we hold on. Once the reinforcements arrive. At present, all places are busy sorting out the zombies within their range. Everything is going smoothly. The personnel that can be transferred have rushed to City C from all directions. If this battle goes well, peace may not be far away. Lu Yiming took a deep breath, looked at everyone, and saluted slowly. Everything is self-evident. Everyone returned the military salute, and their young faces were full of solemnity. Then they got into the car and rushed to the decisive battle. Q Country is too bullying. They don't think about it. The local zombie king is still beaten by us. You are an outsider. And you want to turn the tables? If we don't beat you up, we are not flower growers. Chapter 109. Wang Changnan actually found the team that Uncle Corpse had brought out in City D. There were not many of them. Only 100 or so. Because the zombies of Country Q had eliminated many dissidents in City D and cleared the way ahead. Hearing that the large army of Country Q would land on the coast, Uncle Corpse was quite enthusiastic and asked Wang Changnan, by the way, they should also come here as a mixture of zombies and humans. Right? Hearing Wang Changnan's affirmative reply, Uncle Corpse smiled and showed his white teeth, eating small animals every day. My mouth is almost dry. They eat our people. And we eat theirs? It made sense. And the humans present were speechless. Food is the first necessity of the people. And this sentence seems to be the same for zombies. With the delicious human flesh of Q Country as bait, Uncle Corpse's team is full of motivation. Chu Liang and Wang Changnan exchanged glances, and then led Uncle Corpse to the seaside as planned. We have set a lot of zombies from B City to lurk along the coast. Now I will take you there. And everyone will meet up there. Uncle Corpse did not doubt him. Seeing that there was a team behind Wang Changnan, he just thought that it was a professional negotiation team from B City. He only took the heads he brought and followed this brother. Wang Difu also followed Chu Liang. Chu Liang did not have the ability to lead zombies, so it was easy to be exposed. But Difu could herd sheep. He really liked herding zombies. With him watching from behind, it is guaranteed that no zombie will be left behind in Uncle Corpse's team. Wang Changnan watched Chu Liang walk away, looked at the special effects makeup of the third brother painted by Lin Qingyu, and patted his shoulder. The next step is up to you, third brother. Don't be afraid. Everyone has to die. Or, the third brother's face turned black. Can't you expect me to be good? Do you still want the share money? Yes. Wang Changnan shut up. This time, Wang Changnan went up the mountain from the front in broad daylight. The general was very surprised. How could Wang Changnan go back at this time? He understood flower planting very well. Logically speaking, this time was not enough for Wang Changnan to go back and forth. Our planes are still usable. Wang Changnan still looked like he deserved a beating. But you lied more. It was clear that Q Country was about to land. But you said it would be 5 days later. What? Did you want to catch us off guard? The highest level of quarreling is to open fire first, and suppress the opponent's arrogance. Sure enough, the general who was caught in the weakness felt guilty for a moment. And then he started to argue. I haven't communicated with Q Country headquarters recently. Maybe something happened to them. It's possible that they left early. Why would they deliberately lie to you? What happened? Wang Chang'an sneered in his heart. Your headquarters is gone. We don't mind repaying evil with kindness. I'll tell you a piece of news. Wang Chang'an waved his hand. And the powerful Ming Ning stepped forward and put down the sack on his shoulder. The rope of the sack was untied. And inside was a dying zombie. There was still half an arrow in the zombie's temple. It seemed that he was about to bid farewell to this world for the second time. He stretched out a hand weakly. But his eyes were full of anxiety. He said in the language of Q Country, the shore, the dock, the eagle eye, the cunning flower grower, the ambush. As soon as he finished speaking, he threw his head and died, still holding a piece of eagle feather tightly in his hand. Stolen from the zoo, that look, that breath, that emotion, makes people cry when they hear it and feel sad when they see it. His words were intermittent, but the general's heart was in turmoil. But he still had some doubts about the identity of the zombie. As soon as he took a step forward, the zombies behind Wang Chang'an pulled out their guns and stopped him. Wang Chang'an said leisurely, You don't think that I am not angry at all after playing tricks on me so many times? I brought you here to see if your Q Country is strong enough to cooperate with us. If you can't even win the battle of landing at the dock. Hee. Let's go! At the foot of the mountain. I hope to see the scene of your large army coming back. Then, we can talk about cooperation. Go. 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 It's going to rain. This zombie team disguised as humans wished they could have 8 legs. They almost fanned the wind when they walked. So they didn't care about the general's retention behind them. That is, their attitude of not looking back. And they seemed to have no attachment to the D-City security base. Made the general feel relieved. He looked into the distance. Was it really the motherland that was in trouble? He stroked the eagle on his shoulder, not knowing what was wrong with this kid, who refused to fly for several days in a row, and seemed to have eyes that were uncomfortable. Today, it was finally better. So he let it go first to see the situation. It was pouring rain, and Wang Chang'an's team had already arrived at the BNB at the foot of the mountain. In the BNB, there were serious combat members hiding inside, waiting for Wang Chang'an's signal. And the eagle that was released saw the heavy rain coming again, and folded its wings and flew back. Chu Liang is now on the road with Uncle Corpse's team, and looking for some equipment along the way. It's just that he stopped talking when it started to rain heavily. It's nothing. Uncle Corpse walked and walked, and he couldn't find the little transparent one next in the zombie group. He was not as conspicuous as Wang Difu. The general was furious. He wanted to kill Wang Chang'an. But Wang Chang'an was backed by a group of zombies. He wanted to kill the eagle. But the eagle might be an important partner for him to connect with his motherland. In the end, he could only slam the conference table with hatred. Go. Send a team to see where we landed. Remember? Bring a nest of zombie bats. Although it was slower than the eagle. If there was really a human ambush there, then the zombie bats would definitely bring bad luck to these humans. Looking at the movement in the telescope, Wang Chang'an was relieved and looked back at the room. He's taken the bait. The fourth brother was frantically rubbing the third brother's face, taking revenge on his private grudges, secretly ruthlessly using the name of helping to remove makeup. Why? Why are you being carried by your junior sister? Obviously, it was me who came first. The third brother dodged left and right. Who told you that you can't speak well and act well? No. Can this group of people really win? Wang Chang'an held his forehead, slowly turned around, and looked at the well-trained soldiers. These are still reliable. They are not worried that the Q Country general on the top of the mountain will send corpses to investigate. As long as they are stuck before Q Country lands. The longer this group of Q Country zombies dawdle, the more rescue they can wait for, and the less sacrifices they will make, in order to avoid zombies colliding with each other and bringing danger to Wang Chang'an. Chu Liang took Uncle Corpse around in a circle. When they arrived, they only saw 1 or 2 zombies stumbling onto a small car and driving away. There were also some zombie bats on the ground. Uncle Corpse was a little surprised. Are they our people? Before Chu Liang came out of the zombie group, Uncle Corpse filled in the blanks in his mind and said to himself, Oh, most of them don't know our mission. If they don't want to stay, then don't stay. They look thin and can't manage 2 acres of land in a day. I don't want them to join me. Uncle Corpse's words were funny. But Chu Liang felt a little heavy. Rule 16 of the zombie world says that people cannot have the disease of the Saint Father and the Saint Mother. But Uncle Corpse, if he had not eaten people, he would have been such a good elder all along. After the rain, the sky cleared up and a rainbow appeared in D-City for the first time in a long time. Chu Liang sprayed the simulant and then said, Uncle Corpse, follow me. Let's make something small first. This landing site was discovered by Li Yao and others. Probably the general, who came to explore it the way he used the eagle to fly back the route. Satellite monitoring showed that the following ships would probably land here. Chu Liang was not idle. His bag was full of explosives. Now it was just right to take Uncle Corpse and others to bury some small surprises for the friends from Q Country who got off the ship and landed. The two Q Country zombies drove away and returned to the base panting, reporting the situation to the general. The Q Countryman who had been serving on the left and right asked cautiously, Are you sure it's human? Could it be this group of cunning flower-growing zombies pretending to be humans? If they lure us away, the base on the mountain will be. Who do you think you are? The zombie who escaped back was furious and kicked it away, and then took out the zombie bat in his hand. General, please look. This is the zombie bat I picked up at the risk of my life. As soon as this group of spies arrived, they untied the zombie bat. Unexpectedly, the zombie bat hovered for a long time at the beginning, but did not attack anywhere. The Q Country zombies thought that there was either no ambush here, or the flower-growing people had used odor simulants again. As the rain got heavier, a few zombie bats suddenly became excited and led the group to fly away. They followed carefully behind, only to hear bursts of gunfire, and the zombie bats all fell. Then, many flower-growing humans rushed out from nowhere and suppressed them with an absolute advantage in numbers. Many Q Country zombies were directly killed under the firepower. They were also lucky. They fought and fled, picked up a car, and then escaped back. There was obvious blood in the mouth of the zombie bat he picked up, and meat was still hanging on the teeth. The general pinched it and tasted it. It really tasted like a human. Damn. The general threw the bat and looked into the distance. Stupid and ignorant humans. Do you really think you can compete with us intelligent zombies? The Q Countryman who was kicked in the corner stood up with pain and boasted, Yes. Yes. Sooner or later the whole world will be occupied by us. Who said you are us? The general sneered. He was not interested in turning food into his own kind. As long as the problem here is solved safely, and there is no need for Q Country humans to pretend to be survivors of flower planting to deceive people. It is time for these Q Country humans to go to the table together. Gather them all, and let me see how to arrange them. The general arranged to the two zombies. We are about to usher in a huge victory. But they all overlooked how it was so coincidental that a car with oil and keys stopped by the roadside, and how it was so coincidental that they picked up a bat that had bitten a human. On the coast, a little soldier pinched his fingers and happily went to get a rabies vaccine. At the foot of the mountain, a group of people with guns and live ammunition were ready. Chapter 110. Wang Chenan's teammates were hiding in the basement of the B&B. In order not to reveal any traces, Wang Chenan was the only one in the B&B, quietly observing the movements on the top of the mountain. Anyway, they had walkie-talkies with each other, so they didn't have to worry about not being able to contact each other. There were a lot of wine and vegetables in the basement of the B&B, but the vegetables had rotted, and the smell was a bit unpleasant. They were used to the stench of zombies, so this rotten smell was considered a little fresh. The fourth brother secretly used a weak flashlight, looked at the wine carefully, and encouraged everyone, It's delicious. After we finish the fight, we can drink some to have a good time. Zhao Laos uncovered Laos's mouth and said viciously, From now on, don't say anything like flag. The Q Country zombies acted very quickly. In just 2 hours, Wang Chenan heard that they had completed their deployment. Countless Q Country zombies ran down the mountain in an orderly manner. The general's advanced troops at the foot of the mountain drove out a military truck from somewhere, and were waiting for the zombies to get on the truck. The military truck was from the D-City security base. It had only been a few hours since the rain stopped, and the temperature suddenly rose. Even Wang Chenan felt a little hot, not to mention his teammates in the basement, who were crowded together. And the cool basement was like a steamer. The cicadas on the mountain began to scream again. Wang Chenan finally saw the Q Country driving the military truck and quickly contacted both sides and reported the situation. The humans in the basement couldn't wait to get out, and finally wiped their guns, Start the war. Did you see that general go there too? Lin Qingyu asked as she walked quickly. Wang Chang'an shook his head. They were wearing the clothes of the security base staff in D-City. Wearing helmets. And there were so many of them, and so crowded, that I didn't notice them. Lin Qingyu paused. And then said, maybe he didn't leave. She would never underestimate the mind of any intelligent zombies along the way. Q Country also has a deep understanding of flower planting. And they also know how to lure the tiger away from the mountain. Maybe the general is in the mountain, and has kept a trick up his sleeve. You make a lot of sense. Wang Chang'an pondered for a moment, whistled, and called Lao San up. It's time for you to show your strength again. No. You want me to be the door-knocking emperor? Silently wiping off the sweat and spraying the odor simulant. Lao San turned his head to look at his teammates. And with a tragic face, he got out of the jungle and shouted in the language of Q Country, open the door. General. I know you are at home. I'm not dead. I'm back. I've escaped back. I have another important intelligence. The zombies on the wall held their guns for defense. But the Q countryman next to him, who was beaten black and blue by the general, recognized him at a glance. This was indeed the zombie that the flower-growing zombies had brought up in a sack. He hurried over and said a few words. The door slowly opened. Where's the general? The third brother calmly turned on the intercom in his trouser pocket and began to ask questions. I have something to report. I have important information about humans who are going to counterattack our D-City base. The general is out. The Q countryman bowed and said respectfully, okay. He's not here. You can charge. The soldiers wiped their guns. But the general left a button. The human pointed cautiously upstairs. It's to guard against this. It said that if you press it, the whole base will explode and fly into the sky. The little general is guarding it. Okay. Lao San. You keep going. The soldier silently shrank into the haystack. Zhao Lao San's face twisted for a moment. And then he quickly calmed down. During this period, Chu Liang was not idle. He not only buried some small surprises for his friends who got off the ship, but also buried some small gifts for the Q country zombies who came to support. Uncle Corpse looked at the little gadgets prepared by Chu Liang. A little admiring, and a little strange. Where did you get so many explosives? Of course, Commander Liu Yiming gave them. Chu Liang chuckled and said, D-City will be airdropped. And reinforcements will arrive soon. Give Uncle Corpse a shot of prevention. Don't wait to hurt your own people. The ships on the sea will reach the shore in about an hour or two. But the reinforcements from the D-City security base led by General Q have entered the urban area of D-City and are heading towards the coast. Guerrilla warfare in the alleys has always been our army's forte. If it weren't for the fear of alerting the enemy and letting these zombies turn back to the Nanshan base immediately, Commander Liu Yiming would have made these hateful zombies suffer in the urban area. But it doesn't matter. Chu Liang quickly helped him get rid of this anger. Chu Liang sat on the deck of a yacht, gently waving a fan, and saw several D-City military trucks coming into view from a distance. 3, 2, 1, boom, boom, boom. The buried little gifts instantly overturned several military trucks in front. A zombie asked Uncle Corpse in confusion, Uncle, will we feel hot? Why is this city zombie still fanning himself? What do you know? Uncle Corpse was rubbing his hands, eager to try. This is the corpse of Zhuge Liang. Please respectfully call me the military corpse from now on. Puff. Chu Liang almost choked himself and coughed. No more talking. Let's deal with this group of zombies quickly. If all the support zombies of the Q country general are killed, the pressure on their Q country troops to land will not be too great. After the bombs were blown up, Chu Liang took a gun in one hand and a steel rod in the other, for our flesh. Charge. The general was stunned when he saw the flower-growing zombies attacking him. Didn't they say that the army gathered on the shore was human? How could it be zombies? Then wouldn't his trump card zombie bats be useless? He knew it was dangerous to come here. But in the past, with the help of zombie bats, he was invincible in the Q country. And he didn't care about the number of humans. If he could make another contribution, maybe he could become a zombie king. But if it was a zombie, could it be that the group of zombies in B-City who negotiated betrayed the contract? While cursing, the general comforted himself that there were not many zombies. And they didn't seem to have received much training. They were all a mob. It's not like he had never killed flower-growing zombies before. So he killed them all together this time. The zombies that Uncle Corpse collected were not very smart. And many of them were not intelligent zombies. If they really went head-to-head with the murderous zombies of Q Country, they would be chopped off like melons and vegetables. But Uncle Corpse and his men had a cheat. The human army, who had been waiting on the shore for a long time, silently thanked God for not raining again, spraying the odor simulant. With just a glance, a small team of more than 50 people quietly lurked close to the center of the battle. It was a pity that they could not go all in, and had to keep some strength to prepare for the battle with the large force that was about to land. So, the general of Q Country found that the more they fought, the more zombies they planted flowers. They didn't know where they would appear, and they were well equipped. They were very skilled, had strong firepower, and had combat wisdom. They killed a lot of their zombies in a group of 3. I was fooled. The general had a cold face and roared, "Get in the car and go back to the base." The bullets fell on the surface of the military truck, but there was no damage. They could only watch the Q Country general, who left most of his men behind and led the remaining soldiers to escape. "Chase!" Chu Liang pointed to a military truck that was slightly bombed but still drivable, and called Uncle Corpse and the others to get on. "Can we still catch up?" The little zombie looked at the Q Country zombie that had gone far away and curled his lips. "You kid," Uncle Corpse said. "Whatever the military zombie says is true. You are smarter than the military zombie?" Chu Liang shook the fan again, and actually felt a little bit of pretense in his heart. "Don't worry. We have our people in the city. The war situation changes rapidly, and plans can never keep up with the changes. How could Commander Liu Yiming only make one deployment? As mentioned before, street fighting has always been our strong point. We didn't dare to fight them before because they were outnumbered. But now we are outnumbered. So why not?" Swish. 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 It's just 2 snipers occupying high ground. They can easily shoot through the tires of 2 military trucks, and even shoot a few Q Country zombies by the way. When Chu Liang and his team arrived, the Q Country zombies were about to catch the 2 snipers who had exposed their positions. "Your opponent is us." Facing the admiring eyes of the zombies below, Chu Liang slowly walked out with a pistol in hand. "Q Country zombies, you are not welcome here. It's you? You're the flower-growing zombies." The general laughed in anger, and a strange sound came out of his stiff throat. "How disgusting. So despicable. You can't even unify a country. And you kill us first? Sad. You will be defeated by humans." Chu Liang sneered. "You talk too much." A bullet from the sniper upstairs was aimed at the general's forehead. At the critical moment, he raised his hand sharply to block it, and the bullet penetrated his wrist and knocked the pistol out of his hand. The second bullet came soon. This was Chu Liang's. The general decisively rolled into the carriage beside him, trying to hide himself. The 2 snipers upstairs helped Uncle Corpse and the others to make the final judgment on the zombie team from Country Q. Chu Liang picked up his gun and walked into the carriage. The general curled up in the corner angrily, cursing something. He cursed too fast, and Chu Liang couldn't understand it. But it didn't matter. In fact, it was easy to kill you from the beginning. Chu Liang pulled the trigger. "It's just that we were afraid of the consequences. In order to protect the survivors of the D-City base, we had to go around in circles. Do you really think you are a big shot and run wild here?" Chu Liang didn't mind being a big villain to kill the corpse and destroy the heart. He whispered, "And who told you that we are zombies?" "No. How could it be? It was obvious that the blood flowing from the cut palm of Kingen was from zombies. Could it be humans also betray their compatriots? But why would zombies betray their compatriots? They are obviously a more advanced race." The general widened his eyes. "No." The general suddenly came to his senses and said loudly, "I left a bomb in D-City. You can't kill me. If you kill me, the D-City base will be buried with me." Chu Liang scratched his ears impatiently and took out the intercom from his waist. After a while, Wang Chenan's sticky voice came from the intercom. "Are you at the coast? We have solved it here. I will come to you right away." Translate it. Chu Liang finally gave the general a smile. "It has been solved over there. Well, it's time for you to get on the road. Don't worry. Your large army will come down to accompany you soon. You are not alone." Chapter 111. A gunshot. Chu Liang walked out of the car, looked at Uncle Corpse and said, "Uncle Corpse, everything is done. Let's clean up here and burn everything to prevent zombies from eating and turning into skeletons." Uncle Corpse hurriedly agreed. commanding his men to pile up the corpses of these Q country zombies on the open ground, and drilled a few oil tanks, and set the corpse mountain on fire. Wang Chenan's solution was also a thrilling one. Zhao Laosan tried every means to see the little general, and finally got upstairs, only to find that the little general in the mouth of humans was actually a freak zombie. His head was extremely huge, but his body was small. His eyes stared at Zhao Laosan, who came in, which made Laosan instantly recall many not-so-good memories. For example, he accompanied Liang Yang to watch a Q country horror movie, but was so scared that he didn't dare to go to the toilet by himself. More importantly, the deformed zombie's hand was on a red button, and it seemed that as long as there was a slight movement, he would hold hands and shoulder to shoulder, and take the creatures here to fly into the sky. Oh my god, the situation is a bit difficult. Zhao Laosan licked his palate. His brain worked rapidly, and looked at the human beside him. You go down first. I have something to report to the general alone. As soon as the human left, Zhao Laosan pulled a large iron cabinet to the door, and blocked the door, and locked the door by the way. What are you doing? The deformed zombie frowned and asked unhappily. Of course. It can't be said that he is afraid that the guys from Q country will rush in and press the button. 1v1 is always better than 1vn. Zhao Laosan turned around and grinned stiffly. I'm worried that someone will break in and eavesdrop on the secrets. What secrets? Don't say that a flower zombie broke in. Otherwise this guy will just press the button and it will be over. I heard that the flower zombies have developed a method for zombies to reproduce and give birth to life. Thank you Liang Yang for the inspiration. It's really thanks to the zombie king in City B who was so ambitious and dead, leaving them so many precious legacy of deception. This topic really aroused the interest of the guy on the opposite side. He twisted his body and straightened his back slightly. His heavy head shook his body again, and his hands almost lost their balance. Go on, little general, Zhao Laosan said earnestly. Why don't you come down and tell me? You are up there. Your fingers are not stable. I am afraid that if I tell you something, you will get excited. We will all have to confess here. This made some sense. The little general hesitated for a moment, retracted his fingers, and the whole zombie leaned on the back of the chair. You can tell me. Just stand there. Don't come over again, it was said in a flash. The moment he retracted his hand, Zhao Laosan rushed over like a cheetah, and threw the deformed zombie and the chair behind it to the ground. At the same time, he exerted force with his right hand and directly removed the zombie's jaw, so that it could no longer shout. But Zhao Laosan was careless. It was okay that the zombies were not easy to talk to, because they had their own hee-hee language to communicate. Hee-hee-hee. The little zombie dug his nails into Zhao Laosan's arm and shouted to his companions. The Q country zombies and Q country people started to stir, and there were already sounds of banging on the door. It was over. Zhao Laosan regretted it, but it was too late, and he had to give it a try. He shouted into the intercom, Attack! Attack! Share my firepower. Wang Chang'an, who had been holding his breath and listening to the movement on the intercom, immediately aimed at the zombies on the wall and fired the first shot. The well-trained soldiers were ready to fight. Sure enough, as soon as the gunshots outside rang out, the sound of Zhao Laosan knocking on the door here became lighter. Zhao Laosan did not dare to relax. His men were still holding down a Q country zombie, and the Q country people outside might have the key. He still had to fight quickly to save the house from being taken back by Q country. Thinking of this, regardless of the severe pain in his back, Zhao Laosan freed one hand and took out a dagger from his waist. As he moved, the young general's nails moved half an inch, cutting out his flesh and blood. Are you human? The young general was stunned for a moment, and quickly reacted. You are a flower-growing human. Damn it. I said that you should all be hung up and hung on the city wall, so that you can neither live nor die. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Zhao Laosan sneered. Then your IQ is also worrying. You just recognized it now. Let me take you to accompany your father. The dagger was against the young general's eye socket, but the zombie's two hands were also against Zhao Laosan's chest. The young general still wanted to struggle in his death. If you let me go, I can convert you. Or you can see how powerful those Q people are outside. I can also let you rule, you flower-growing humans. I swear we won't eat you. If you insist on killing me, then I will also dig out your heart. Bah! I went to school for so many years, not to be raped by foreign zombies. Zhao Laosan was too lazy to say more. endured the pain in his chest, gathered strength, and pressed down the dagger with the weight of his whole body. A sharp sound resounded throughout the small building. The banging sound outside the door suddenly became more intense. Xiao Laosan staggered up from the body of the deformed zombie, holding his chest, and quickly dealt with the group at the door. There were some larger office cabinets in the room. Xiao Laosan didn't know where he got the strength from, and pushed the office cabinet over desperately. He also held the door and grabbed the intercom at the same time. Lao Wang, come to my place for support. The top floor. Lao Si was still in the mood to tease. Why don't you go and see which wire to cut? In the movie, don't you have to cut a red or blue wire at this time? Still talking nonsense to me. Xiao Laosan was so angry that his hair stood up. I was caught by the zombies. Come on. Wait until I become a zombie. Don't blame me if you can't defend it. What? As soon as he said this, Lao Si's hands were shaking. Xiao Laosan had been vaccinated before. But the serum is here with me. Li Yo touched his backpack, which contained a tightly packed small box for the serum. Let's go to Laosan first. Everyone fought and retreated, clearing the zombies while walking upstairs. Outside the door, in addition to the zombies banging on the door, there were also anxious humans from Q country holding chainsaws, who seemed to want to cut the door lock. Seeing the enemy coming up, he immediately put down the ramming door and rushed over, trying to surround the group of enemies, with the zombies coming up from downstairs. Save me. Those humans put their hands together. We grow flowers. We are forced by them. Save us. We are compatriots. Palace Jade Wine? Top 10 soups? How much is a sledgehammer? The other party was stunned for a moment. Wang Chang'an waved his hand. Kill them all. Don't be soft-hearted. They are all beasts. When the other party brought zombies to eat the flower-growing rescue team and the survivors, they were not soft-hearted. Naturally, everyone would not show mercy to such people. Aren't they just zombies in human skin? No, they are not as good as zombies. At least zombies are nakedly writing about eating people. There was a fierce exchange of fire outside the house, and Xiao Laosan was dying against the door inside the house. When the gunfire subsided, Ming Ning kicked the door lock with one foot, and Jean Laosi started pushing the cabinet with tears and snot flying. Laosan, you can't die. Xiao Laosan was not killed by the zombies, but was almost buried and crushed to death by his dear brother under the cabinet. Laosan, Laosan, how can I live without you? Hey, you are not dead? Xiao Laosan was so angry that he hammered the ground. He finally crawled out from under the cabinet. I was wearing a bulletproof vest. How could he hurt me? It's just that the clothes on my arm are too thin. Li Yo had opened the serum and looked at Xiao Laosan's mental state. He was very good, and his face was only slightly gray. Maybe the vaccine still had some effect. After a shot of serum, everyone tore open the clothes on Xiao Laosan's arm, pinched the wound and squeezed blood for a while. And when the blood returned to bright red, they breathed a sigh of relief. After leaving a few people to guard here in case zombies come in and press the bomb button, Wang Chang'an took the others to clear the zombies in the base. The original survivors of City D were indeed imprisoned behind the base. It was just that the long-term torture made them crawl on their hind legs and look desperate when they saw Wang Chang'an and others. Lynching you couldn't bear it. So she stood up and took out the food in her backpack. Don't be afraid. It's us. We are sent by the N-City security base to rescue. We are our own people with a good family background. Eat. Share it. And we will come out when we have some strength. We will soon recover the whole country. Her gentle appearance was very friendly. The survivors looked at the food on the ground for a while, and confirmed that it was not a trick played by the Q countrymen again. And then, they cried out, "You are finally here." At this time, Wang Chang'an received a signal from Chu Liang. The two of them communicated with each other, and informed each other of the latest progress. The D-City security base has returned to their own hands. The Q country general, who came ashore, and the zombies and humans he led have been completely annihilated. Now, only the Q country army is left, which is about to dock. The Q country ships can be seen on the coast. Chu Liang looked at the corpse uncle, who was diligently carrying and burning the corpses. But he felt a little reluctant. But he knew that no matter how good the corpse uncle was, he would turn against him as long as he found out that they were human beings. He looked at the clouds in the sky. They were not thick. It was a rare good weather in the plum rain day. It seemed that they could at least be in harmony for a while. As for the future, We will take it one step at a time and listen to the commander above. Let's go. Uncle Corpse. Some stink bugs are about to come ashore. Chu Liang called the remaining zombies. After the battle, there were only 70 or 80 flower-growing zombies left, which was not a lot. There were 1,000 humans lurking on the shore, which was 3/4 of the strength of City C. Before the reinforcements from other security bases arrived, they had to use their own strength to keep the danger out of the country. Chapter 112. When Chu Liang and Wang Chen had arrived at the scene, flames were already rising from the coastal entrance. Various long-range vitality weapons were fired at the sea surface, and several ships were blown away before the zombies came ashore. The water here is still deep, and many zombies fell into the water and never floated up again. You are here? Chu Liang looked at Wang Chen and pulled him into the pile of zombies. Frowning, the number of these ships is more than what our satellite shows. Wang Chen came here alone. There are many people who survived the D-City security base, but they have suffered a serious psychological blow and urgently need someone to comfort them. There are still some remaining Q country zombies roaming around. He left the team behind, divided the work, comforted the survivors, cleared out the fish that escaped the net, and reinforced the base. He came here to meet Chu Liang. At this moment, he nodded. The satellite is not so accurate. We are still too late. We should have sunk their country long ago. That still won't work. What if it causes the sea level to rise and flood D-City? Chu Liang thought in his heart, and saw through the telescope that the big ship that escaped the disaster had hurriedly docked. The one who came down in front had hot weapons in his hands, and the one who came down behind was a little sloppy in clothing, and all of them were cold weapons in their hands, such as Q country machetes. It seems that these Q country zombies are at least not well equipped. Chu Liang knew that the human army lurking on the shore had emptied all the weapon stocks in Sea City. But Sea City was not a military district, and its own weapons reserves were not large. He was originally worried about the problem of insufficient firepower, but now it seems that it should be enough. Junja, the gap between the enemy and us is a bit big. Uncle Corpse spoke faintly, interrupting the two people's thoughts. Not only that, although several ships were sunk, the number of Q country zombies that came down seemed to be about 7,000 or 8,000. However, these 7,000 or 8,000 were not all intelligent zombies, which was too scary. It seemed that one intelligent zombie was managing a group of ordinary zombies to fight. But Uncle Corpse thought, no matter how powerful he was, no matter how ordinary the other side's zombies were, it would not be possible for him to fight one against 100. Junja, let's run away. Chu Liang was about to speak when the sound of gunfire rang out. Soldiers lurking all over the mountains and plains rushed out and started the battle. Uncle Sher's eyes lit up. It turned out that the army had hidden so many reinforcements. As long as it is not 1 against 100. 1 against 10 can still fight. But wait, why do these reinforcements have some strange weapons? Chu Liang and Wang Chen were also at a loss. They were multi-line parallel combat plans. The one on the seaside had the largest number of people. They did not participate in the deployment, so naturally they did not know what weapons these soldiers were using. If Xiao Laosan, who was good at Chinese language and literature and liked history, and was familiar with history, was here, he might be able to recognize them at a glance. Langxuan, also known as Longxian. This is a special long weapon in ancient times. At first glance, it looks like a bamboo stick being swung in the hand. However, the top of the bamboo is a sharp spearhead, which can directly pierce the enemy's throat, stab the enemy, and even apply some poison. The layers of branches and leaves on the bamboo, a total of 10 layers, are all made of iron, and the machete cannot easily cut off. This thing originally came from the anti-Japanese war in the history of flower planting, because it can resist the cutting of the Japanese pirate swords, and prevent the enemy from getting close, and can defend. This thing, in ancient times, formed a Mandarin duck formation with shields, spears, and broadswords, which can be called the most perfect infantry formation in ancient times. In many battles, the number of casualties on the side was extremely small, which was truly 1 against 10, or even 1 against 100. I don't know which genius came up with this magical weapon. And thousands of years later, it protected his descendants again. Chu Liang found that this thing was extremely useful against zombies. Soldiers wearing thick bulletproof vests and helmets held modified wolf whips and shields in front to defend against the enemy. Zombies could not easily get close to any human warriors. But the human soldiers following closely could aim at the zombies and shoot them in the head. If the zombies had cold weapons in their hands, it would be a piece of cake. Soldiers holding wolf whips could directly fork the zombies and wait for their teammates to shoot. After the first wave of successful harvest, the Q Country zombies quickly reacted, adjusted their formation, arranged those zombies without hot weapons to retreat to the back, and started a gunfight. The battle situation changed rapidly, and in just a dozen minutes, Chu Liang and Wang Chang'an were stunned. Now he reacted immediately, and when he looked back, Uncle Corpse had already led the team into the battle. He finally understood that the B-City zombie army of the other army corps was not lacking in ability. If he wanted to gain a foothold in it, this battle would be his token of loyalty. We lost. We didn't react as fast as Uncle Corpse. Wang Chang'an picked up the helmet transported from C-City and threw it to Chu Liang. Protect yourself. I'll go first. The zombie uncles all have this helmet. On the battlefield, they are specially used to separate the Q Country zombies. Those without helmets are not our own people, and will be killed without mercy. The seaside was filled with smoke, and gradually humans were injured, and fresh blood flowed out. But why is there this bloody smell on both sides? The zombies were confused. Lu Yiming, who was in charge of the command center, smiled slightly. Ginger, old is still spicy. Those old guys are more evil than each other. Teacher Wei, the old comrade, not only restored the sketch of the wolf's whisk for them, but also provided them with a new idea. In ancient times, poison was applied to the tip of the spear. But now we can put serum on the tip of the spear. City Z saved money and transported 500 serums, all of which were installed on the tip of the improved wolf's whisk. In the first melee, the serum on the wolf's spear had already penetrated into many zombies. Even if they ate too much human flesh and their internal organs rotted and could not be restored to human form, in a short period of time, their blood would be close to the taste of humans. This was discovered by Dean Tian after countless experiments. No. Are you human? The zombie uncle was confused and looked at a young soldier beside him. The soldier gritted his teeth, took out the hemostatic bandage in his arms, and quickly wrapped the wound. Smiling sincerely, you are joking. Uncle, I am poisoned. The zombies of Q Country are still determined to kill us. And they want us to split and fight internally, so that they can reap the benefits. It seems to make sense. Uncle Corpse swallowed his saliva and tried to restrain his desire to bite his colleague. No. If he bites, how can he go to the city to work with the military corpses? The Q Country zombies are in chaos. There are too many of them, which has both advantages and disadvantages. Although they seem to have gained some numerical advantages in the battle, the large number at this time will inevitably lead to some zombies becoming uncontrollable in the chaotic battlefield. Especially some intelligent zombies know that their leader secretly raises a group of Q Country humans for himself to eat. Could it be that the group of humans ran out by themselves? Are you crazy? A Q Country zombie slapped his colleague hard. Why are you eating me? Are you a skeleton monster? Zombies can eat each other, but there is a chance that they will turn into skeletons. Moreover, even if they are zombies, they don't want to be eaten by themselves. The battle situation became more chaotic. Commander Lu Yiming certainly knew the risk of skeletons. What he wanted was to survive in the face of death. It was hard to say when the reinforcements would come. They couldn't rely on the reinforcements completely, and they couldn't leave a mess for the reinforcements. The best opportunity was to seize the moment of the internal strife of the zombies in Q Country and end the situation. Many human soldiers received the order, took out the small bottles tied to their arms, drank them all in one gulp, and threw them to the ground. The C-City security base basically stopped any production during this period, and produced this batch of special medicines wholeheartedly. In a short period of time, it can stimulate human potential, which is similar to the previous stimulants, or even stronger. 15 snipers stood at various commanding heights, shooting at the Q Country zombies holding submachine guns one by one, and they had to be vigilant at all times to see if there were any skeleton monsters. Even if their shoulders hurt so much that they seemed to have broken bones, they would not waste a minute or a second. Talent training is not easy, and C-City has gathered these 15 seedlings in total, and all of them have been sent here, for the thousands of compatriots behind them, for this land where they have lived for generations. They are willing to pay any price. The charge sounded from nowhere, and Chu Liang was already blood red. A wolf whip was protecting him. He only needed to raise his hand. Shoot. and reload. When the bullets ran out, he would use a knife, a long gun, and an iron rod. Wang Chang'an was the wolf whip in front of him. The original owner of the wolf whip stuffed it into Wang Chang'an's hand before his death, and he slowly fell down while covering the wound. The last charge was sounded in the distance. Chu Liang pulled the long knife out of the neck of a Q country zombie. His body was covered with blood, and when he looked at Wang Chang'an again, the wolf whip had turned black and red. Reinforcements are coming. For some reason, Wang Chang'an's nose suddenly felt sore, and a tear flowed from his eye socket, which was particularly obvious on his dusty face. Chu Liang was stunned for a moment, and touched Wang Chang'an's eyes. You really don't feel like a zombie at all. At first, he was just a little fool who could only touch people's buttocks. But now he can cry. There are about 3,000 zombies in Q country. Hearing the sound from afar, the intelligent zombies have retreated a little. The snipers on high ground saw that some zombies were hiding behind and slowly moving towards the ship, as if they were planning to run. Don't let any zombies go. The aesthetics of violence is here. I am so ambitious that I would eat the meat of the barbarians when I am hungry, and I would drink the blood of the Xiongnu when I am thirsty. Go for the GPA. Sigh. My SCI, the fastest group in the distance, holding the red flag of T province, had a childish look on their faces, but their movements were extremely fast and agile. Chu Liang was stunned when he heard their slogans. Are these a group of Li Yao? Oh, they are the surviving students of T University. They were lucky, and were rescued by the T Provincial Military District at the beginning. They were also unlucky. They were caught by the T Provincial Military District in January, and trained hard for half a year. They trained every day, and started to participate in combat in May. Now they are terribly strong. A dozen red flags from different places were spread out in the wind. Chu Liang and Wang Chang'an smiled at each other. It seems that many provinces have restored peace. July will definitely usher in a normal summer vacation. The uncle who was watching silently stopped the big shovel in his hand. Something is wrong. This is very wrong. Although he is an ordinary intelligent zombie, the situation in front of him is really wrong. Chapter 113. When these reinforcements poured into the battlefield, Chu Liang felt that he could take a break. His exhausted hands could no longer hold the weapon tightly. So Chu Liang simply threw it aside, and sat down at the corner of the building. He calmly caught fish, ate some dry food, and replenished his energy before going to the battlefield again. Wang Chang'an turned around and didn't see Chu Liang, and he felt nervous. He looked around again, and saw a hand supporting himself at the corner, and quickly retracted it. So he guessed that Chu Liang was going to rest. He looked around furtively, and the battlefield was in full swing, and no one was paying attention to this place. So he simply threw away the wolf whisk, and sneaked over quietly. It would be great if Wang Difu was here. Wang Chang'an sat down against the wall with a grin. Just now, he didn't know what hit his leg. He concentrated all his strength on his hands holding the wolf whip. Now he felt some pain in his leg. It can also help me massage my leg. Chu Liang laughed. If Wang Difu massaged his leg, he could break his bones. Looking at the battlefield, it was right not to bring Difu. There were so many stray bullets. If Wang Difu was accidentally injured, he would be heartbroken. It's raining again. As he spoke, Chu Liang stretched out his hand, and caught the rain from the sky. The raindrops grew from small to large, and finally hit people, which could make people feel a little stinging. Wang Chang'an wiped the water stains on his helmet. I'm not afraid of rain anymore. The fight has come to this point. Are you still afraid of revealing your vest? Speaking of which, we should thank the advanced team of Q Country. The general killed many local zombies in D City, and the remaining zombies were taken by Uncle Corpse to fight the zombies of Q Country. Now that they are here, they can concentrate on beating the large army of Q Country, without worrying about a large number of zombies rushing out of D City and surrounding them. No. You. The shovel fell heavily to the ground, and Uncle Corpse's eyes widened. The rain washed away the odor simulant, and when Chu Liang spoke again, his human identity could not be concealed at all. Unexpectedly, Uncle Corpse would be here. Chu Liang and Wang Chang'an looked at each other, and stood up. Wang Chang'an unconsciously touched the dagger on his back, feeling a little uneasy. I just can't figure it out. Uncle Corpse wiped the rain off his face, and looked at the two of them in distress. Zombies and humans have formed an alliance. It's such a big thing. Why didn't you tell me at all? Uncle Corpse's IQ is probably farewell to unifying the Central Plains. But although Uncle Corpse is a zombie, he is stupid, He didn't eat anyone along the way, and he just helped them work. They really couldn't bear to kill Uncle Corpse like this. Wang Chang'an pounced on him and twisted Uncle Corpse to the ground. Brother, I'm really sorry. It's hard for me to be loyal and filial. You only have two choices. One is to go home with me, be kept in the basement, cooperate with me to do some research, and see if I can turn you back to human. Two, I will turn you. Every year at this time, I will come here to burn some paper for you. I'm sorry for you. I will be your slave in the next life. I'm laying my cards on the table. Actually, I'm also a human. Hee hee. You're a corpse. Brother, you can't say that word, or it will be harmonized by the green website. Chu Liang stopped urgently. Hee hee. You're a traitor. Uncle Corpse regrouped his emotions and shouted in grief and anger. I vote for Quad A. He originally just wanted to escape. If he had known that he would meet these two people, he would have changed his route no matter what. The rain didn't last long. After the rain stopped, the shore was wet. The salty smell of the sea water at the dock, along with the smell of blood, entered everyone's nose. I don't know who was the first to put down his weapon, followed by the second, third, and fourth. Everyone sat down, looked at the people around them, hugged each other with tears in their eyes, and patted each other's backs frantically. Friends, we succeeded. We won. We didn't lose. We didn't lose. Wang Chang'an and Chu Liang took a break and continued to join the battle. Wang Chang'an spread his hands in the crowd. One? Chu Liang smiled and opened his arms to embrace him. Suddenly, a figure appeared with a submachine gun hanging around his neck. He hugged the two of them with his left and right hands and patted their backs. Not bad. Not bad. Sister Jean, Chu Liang shouted happily. After a brief joy, the bloody smell in the air attracted a large number of birds. Everyone was worried that if there were scavengers among these birds, they would eat the zombies' flesh at will. And who knew what virus would mutate? So they hurried to disperse the birds, and threw the zombie bodies into the back of the truck and transported them to some crematoriums in City D for incineration. There's another one here. Someone found the shivering corpse uncle in the corner, exclaimed, took out a pistol and planned to send him off in a neat row. Don't shoot. He's one of us. My boss is that handsome guy. The corpse uncle shouted hurriedly, pointing at Wang Chang'an and shouting, Boss! Boss! Well, I call you brother. He calls you uncle. You call me boss. Our names are messy, transcending race and generation. After cleaning up the battlefield, it was already dark. In this battle, 7,912 enemies were wiped out, and 213 of our soldiers died. Everyone silently took off their nameplates and left them to be returned to their families in the future. At this moment, everyone stood on the coast, bowed their heads silently, and sent their last blessings to these brave and fearless comrades, compatriots, and relatives who died heroically. The things that happened afterwards were very smooth and chaotic. Chu Liang's relaxed brain was fuzzy, and he could no longer remember those details. He just felt like a movie was fast-forwarded. Everyone returned to the D-City security base, rebuilt the base's walls, and even gave Uncle Corpse a bath, trimmed his nails, and put on braces, until Commander Lu Yiming appeared in front of them. Chu Liang came back to his senses. Good boy. I didn't see you wrong? Lu Yiming waved his fist, very excited, and looked at Wang Chang'an. Good boy. Fortunately you have always stood on our human. Oh, right. Speaking of this, Chu Liang suddenly remembered. As the number of zombies killed by Wang Chang'an increased, Wang Chang'an even felt that he could control the virus. This was incredible, but it did exist. For example, at the D-City General, Wang Chang'an concentrated the virus on his hands, cut himself, and shed the unique blood of zombies, which dispelled the suspicion of many zombies in one fell swoop. But it is not the case that the virus always exists in Wang Chang'an's body. We still have to find a way to get rid of it. Lu Yiming pondered for a while and said softly, according to Director Tian, this virus seems to have some swallowing wisdom. The details are still under study. Logically speaking, Wang Chang'an, you want to take the initiative to join the research. We are very happy. But now there is one thing. Maybe you still need your physique. Having gone through mountains of swords and seas of fire, half of the flower planting has come down. So this one thing is not a big deal. Wang Chang'an smiled. I promise to complete the task. Very good. Lu Yiming also smiled. stretched out his hand, and patted Wang Chang'an on the shoulder. In a few days, when we have the ship repaired, you can lead the team to rescue your parents. What? Wang Chang'an's body froze. And after a while, he suddenly came to his senses. Excitedly holding Lu Yiming's hands, Commander, you mean? You, my parents? Can I go to rescue my parents? The information of Wang Chang'an and Chu Liang's ancestors for 18 generations, and even the bloodline information of Wang Bifu's ancestors for 18 generations, had been investigated by the superiors. Naturally, they also knew that Wang Chang'an's parents might have been forced to land on the island before the outbreak. This time, Q Country came over, and there was a zombie hiding in the ship. They caught this person alive, and accidentally learned that there seemed to be traces of human activities on the island. The eagles released by the Q Country zombies suddenly fell on the island. If the Q Country zombies hadn't rushed to eat a big meal, they would have searched the island a long time ago. Wang Chang'an had made great contributions to them, and his personal character was also seen in their eyes. They didn't mind doing a favor in the end. Anyway, they will not give up any survivors. So let's just give this task to Wang Chang'an. July is here, relying on vaccines, serums, and odor simulants, plus the wisdom of mankind. All parts of the country have resumed normal production and work, except for some bordering provinces and cities that are still in danger. The air conditioner in the campus is running, and the children gathered together have some worries and happiness on their faces after half a year of life and death. They found that it is not easy to sit quietly in the campus and study. Every Sunday night, the government also arranges psychological teachers to go to communities, streets, and villages in units of hundreds to help people restore their mental health. Everything is getting better. Every evening news, everyone can get together to listen to the government's latest research results on the virus. Teacher Tian has now been promoted to the dean. On the phone, she is still confident and calm. Behind her is Uncle Shi, who has a little color on his face. Dean Tian said kindly, Xiao Wang, I have made a breakthrough in the virus. When you come back, maybe you can be fully restored to human. Waiting for your good news. Wang Chang'an stood on the deck and waved to Dean Tian, his face full of expectation. Good? Chu Liang smiled. I didn't expect that your shipbuilding major would be put to good use in the end. Uncle and Aunt will definitely be very happy. Wang Chang'an smiled evilly, still calling Uncle and Aunt. You should call Mom and Dad. Zhao Laosan lay on the railing and vomited loudly at an inappropriate time. Seeing Wang Chang'an staring at him, he waved his hands. Sorry. I didn't expect that. I was a little seasick. I'll testify. Laosi looked righteous. Brother Chu, tell your sister-in-law not to be angry. Wang Difu shouted in fear of chaos. Awu! Awu! The blue sea water set off Lao Wang's dark face. He pointed angrily to the distance. Stop talking nonsense. Go and save people. Chapter 114. Captain Qin sat in the cabin, cleaning his gun, and couldn't help laughing, being with this group of young people. I feel a lot younger. The soldier next to him laughed. We are not that old. In addition to Wang Chang'an and his group of young students, there were also many soldiers who went out to sea this time. In addition to helping rescue citizens on the island, they also had an important mission to explore the degree of zombization of marine animals. There are quite a few mammals in the ocean, and some of them are big. They sprayed their ship with odor simulants, which saved them from disaster. Dean Tian didn't come, but several of her apprentices came, who specialize in studying the problem of zombization of marine animals. The ocean cannot live without these creatures. If vaccines and serums can work on them, it would be great. When the domestic situation was almost settled, the country set its sights on the distant future. I heard that many countries are still struggling, but they have not been able to successfully develop serums as effective as flower planting because they lack the key primer Wang Chang'an. Seeing that flower planting has been basically settled, many countries have tried their best to send information and seek cooperation. The old leaders are not fools. People can help out of humanitarianism, but this help cannot be completely free. They must exchange some advanced things from their country. After Captain Qin and Wang Chang'an finished this trip, they estimated that they would go abroad to help fight. I saw the island. Wang Chang'an took down the telescope and shouted excitedly. The third and fourth children ran out, smiling. We can rescue Uncle and Aunt soon. Speaking of which, they were lucky. Although the parents of the third child turned into zombies, they were barely pulled back by the laboratory because they did not eat people and their bodies were not damaged too much. Although they may not live 100 years, they can accompany their son for another 10 years. The parents of the fourth child were even luckier. They were rescued by the security base at the beginning, after the country was restored to stability. They finally contacted the fourth child and scolded their son, who had worried them for half a year. Chu Liang's mother had been seen in City C before, but there was no news about his father. However, Chu Liang's parents were not close, so when he heard the news, he just sighed and didn't think much about it. Ming Ning's parents were also in sports. When the zombies broke out, they took their own group of disciples and directly set up a civilian safety base. Only Li Yao and Lin Qingyu's parents were traveling abroad at the time, and they have not been contacted until now. Seeing Li Yao and Lin Qingyu, who were a little lost behind him, Wang Chainan patted their shoulders. Wait until I finish looking for it. I will find it for you. I will always find it. All human wisdom can be contained in 2 words, waiting and hope. As they were talking, the boat came to the shore. The sound of people going to the island startled a flock of birds, which flew up and fluttered down. The people hiding in the basement trembled. Lin's father asked, "Old Wang, do you think that the zombies from Q country have come to the island?" "It is not impossible." Looking through the telescope, the boat looked very familiar. How could it not look familiar? That is Wang Chainan using local materials, repairing the Q country boat, and using it directly. Wang's father tried to suppress his worries and smiled heartily. "Hey, if they wanted to go to the island, they would have come a long time ago. Why are they coming back now? I think it might be our country's search and rescue team. Didn't you see our national flag on the boat?" Father Lin put his hands together. "I hope so. I'm afraid it's a conspiracy by those Q people." As he was talking, there was a commotion outside. The one on duty at this time was Lin Qingwu, the eldest son of the Lin family. He squatted on a big tree, holding his breath, drawing his bow and arrow. But no matter how he looked at it, he felt that the zombie coming towards him looked a little familiar. Isn't this his mortal enemy? The legendary son of someone else's family. The little Wang he hated the most since he was a child? Look at his ruddy face and brisk steps. He doesn't look like a zombie at all. Could it be that? Swoosh! An arrow hit Wang Chinan's feet, frightening him so much that he shrank back and fell on Chu Liang behind him. "Be on guard." At the command, all the guns were raised, and Captain Qin began to search around, slowly locking onto a coconut tree in the distance. His eyes narrowed. "It's okay. Get up. You're not so delicate. Are you?" Seeing Wang Chainan taking the opportunity to lean on him and pretend to be weak, Chu Liang was a little speechless. "You didn't even hit the big toe. You shouldn't be so scared." Wang Chainan then got up from Chu Liang's arms in dismay, looking at the arrow again. Wasn't it from an old acquaintance? Wang Chainan was so angry that he cursed. "Lin Qingwu, you shameless man. You turned into a zombie and still wanted to harm me." He and Lin Qingwu had been fighting since they were young. That is, he was admitted to a key university, and Lin Qingwu, that idiot, had poor grades, and the Lin family felt embarrassed. So they arrested Lin Qingwu for special training to prepare for the competition. The two hadn't seen each other for 3 years. "You are the zombie." Lin Qingwu jumped down from the tree angrily. If he didn't come down, Captain Qin's gun would shoot him into a sieve. "I am really a zombie." Wang Chainan couldn't refute this. Both sides were friendly. After checking each other and confirming Lin Qingwu's human identity, everyone let down some of their guard and hurriedly asked the remaining survivors on the island. While talking about the difficult survival record of the island for 6 months, Lin Qingwu led a group of people to a warehouse not far from the hotel, wiped the dust on the floor, and knocked a few times rhythmically according to the secret code. The boards in the basement were opened one by one, and Wang Chinan's father just popped his head out and saw his son smiling at him. "Mom and Dad, I'm here to find you. We're saved. It's really a rescue team." "So, you still carry some zombie virus?" Wang Chinan's mother touched her chest, unable to accept this blow. "Yes." Wang Chainan nodded honestly. He didn't want to tell his parents, but his parents were so excited that they hugged his face and looked around, and wanted to kiss him. He was afraid that he would accidentally scratch his mother with his nails and teeth. But Dean Tian said it was a small matter, and he can solve it for me when I go back. So, Wang Chinan's father also touched his chest. "You still managed to trick Chu Liang into getting him?" Stinky boy. He had gone to the university several times before, And when he took his son's dormitory to eat, he felt that his son's eyes on the child surnamed Chu were really not innocent. He wanted to scold the child. But after learning about the child's background and character, he felt that he should deal with his own brat. What do you mean by cheating? Wang Chang'an was unhappy. We are in love. You don't know what we have been through in the past 6 months. Chu Liang stood aside, a little embarrassed. Okay. Wang Chenan's mother took Chu Liang's hand with tears in her eyes. Good boy. It's hard for you to be with such a thing that you are worried about turning into a zombie if you kiss him. Auntie feels sorry for you. Chu Liang really hasn't considered this issue. So it seems that there is really a risk? No one was shy about the matter between Chu Liang and Wang Chang'an. After 6 months of hell, many people have become more open-minded. What does it matter if you are heterosexual or homosexual? In this world, you can live a good life day by day. Who knows what will happen next? Lin Qingmu wanted to take the opportunity to say something. But Wang Chang'an stopped him with one sentence. Be careful, or I will tell uncle and auntie that I have a stable job now. Lin Qingyu was so angry that she looked at Chu Liang and turned her head in hatred. It's really a flower stuck in cow dung. Wang Chang'an was indignant. Liang Yang is not a flower. He is a brave tree. Chu Liang, thank you. Anyway, you don't care if it's cow dung? The zombies on the island were locked up. And the dangerous thing was that a skeleton monster appeared inside. Fortunately, Captain Qin was experienced and killed the other party immediately when he opened the door, without causing any accidents. On the way, they caught a few more marine zombies, and everyone returned smoothly. August. At night, Wang Chang'an and Chu Liang lay side by side on the big bed in the hotel near the research institute. Tonight, they will rest here for another night. Tomorrow, Wang Chang'an will start the purification operation. In the history of human development, there were at least 11 human races in the genus Homo. But now there is only one. And in the development process of this kind, various superviruses often break out suddenly, quietly harvesting a large number of lives. Some viruses attack indiscriminately. Some viruses only target the weak. And some viruses, such as the zombie virus, seem to disdain to attack the weak. Genes are really amazing. Although Dean Tian has not yet completely traced the source of this virus, he has almost figured out the mechanism of this virus. Wang Chang'an has a very special gene, which seems to be left by an extinct human. It can actually devour and fuse zombie viruses, and even control zombie viruses. Perhaps tens of millions of years ago, this zombie virus also broke out among this kind of human. And Wang Chenan's ancestors were lucky to survive. It's okay if you don't accept the surgery. But my existence is not a secret. Dean Tian and his men are worried that someone will leak the news and some foreign forces will come back to arrest me. Wang Chang'an looked at the ceiling and sighed. It's a pity that I can no longer be the zombie king. Let's have the surgery, Chu Liang said after a while. You forgot. Zombies. You can't do it. But if I can do it, it's okay. Wang Chang'an didn't understand it at first, and it took him half a beat to react. He turned over and pressed on Chu Liang, gritting his teeth and said, Do you want to see now? Can I do it? I am a corpse doctor. The environment was too unsafe before. I didn't want to bully you. And you dared to doubt me. Chu Liang's thoughts gradually freed up. You said? If you concentrate all the zombie viruses, will it be super powerful? Wang Chenan's face flushed. I am also very powerful without the zombie virus. As he said that, Lao Wan began to take off his shirt in a hurry. Chu Liang took the opportunity to jump off the bed and ran out. Anshin. Have the surgery tomorrow. I don't want to become a zombie. Lao Wan was so angry that he pounded the bed. You wait for me. After I finish the surgery. Chu Liang turned a deaf ear to it, opening the door. The heat was rolling outside. But there were a lot of people. People who had been busy all day walked in the night market at ease, stopping from time to time to ask the vendors. Chu Liang bought half a watermelon, and the stall owner also gave him a spoon. Chu Liang dug a watermelon while walking in the crowd, thinking of the people who were still pounding the bed, and couldn't help but smile. Tomorrow will be better. Everything will be better.